What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. I walked through the gates of Konoha holding Sasuke up. I had finally gotten him to come back to the village. This time no one glared at me. They were occupied with staring at Sasuke in shock. Did he do that to Sasuke? Of course that brat would. He's a monster. It hurt the last Uchiha. Last Uchiha my ass. What about Itachi? I don't care about what they say. I mean, it's nothing I haven't heard before. After about 15 years of hearing this you get used to it. Sasuke grumbled something I couldn't understand. You okay? I asked, still helping him walk. Yeah, what about you? Steam was coming of my body from the rapid healing. My well-being isn't important. We arrived at the hospital and walked through the main doors. Doctors and nurses ran over to us, taking Sasuke somewhere. They left to attend to him, leaving me at the front. Okay then, guess I'll see myself out. I walked out and jumped onto the rooftops, setting my route to Granny. I made it inside the Hokage tower and walked to Granny's room, knocking on her door. Come in, said a muffled voice. I opened the door and walked in. She gasped, Naruto. She ran over to me as I swayed a bit. She sat me down in a chair and began healing me. Why haven't you gone to the hospital? She yelled with concern. I did. She frowned. Did you bring back Sasuke? I smiled. Yeah, it sure did take a while, ya know, I said, giggling a bit. She smiled. I'm glad. Suddenly the door swung open. The elders walked in along with Danzo. Sasuke Uchiha is in the hospital. One of them yelled. They glared at me. You did this, didn't you? Danzo yelled. Ninja in the hall started eavesdropping after hearing the commotion. And just why would you think that? Granny yelled. All this yelling was making my head hurt. I covered my ears to try and block out the noise. Don't ignore us. I looked over at them. I am responsible for the return of Sasuke Uchiha and his injuries, I said calmly. These people need to calm down. Suddenly I was grabbed by the wrist and pulled out of my chair. You demon fox. How could you hurt the last Uchiha? Danzo yelled, gripping my wrist extremely hard. I winced. We both fought each other and got hurt. I convinced him to come back to the village. You're welcome. And one more thing, they waited to hear the rest. He isn't the last Uchiha, I said coldly. They were silent for a moment. Finally, I take back what I said. We do not mention him. Do you understand? Danzo yelled, his grip tightening. Yes, I mumbled. Speak up, he yelled. My wrist was slowly becoming purple. I said yes. I yelled, some of Kurama's chakra escaping me. They all stared in shock. He's trying to kill us. One of the elders claimed noticing my chakra. I sighed. They're all idiots. Granny pulled me out of Danzo's grip and stood in front of me. Naruto is not a threat, Granny said. You felt it, didn't you? The Nine Tails chakra. That child is a demon, the elder said. He was protecting himself. Also, are you going to ignore the fact that he had brought Sasuke back to the village? Granny was now getting very angry with the elders. That doesn't change the fact that he threatened us, the other elder said. Anbu, restrain him, Danzo commanded. Suddenly I was on my knees, hands gripped behind my back. I let out a small yelp of pain. And Anbu placed some kind of seal on me. I could feel my chakra being blocked. What are you doing to him? I heard Granny yell before everything went black. It's cold and dark. Where am I? I tried getting up and winced in pain. Now I remember. They placed that seal on me. Now I can't heal. I used some of Kurama's chakra to see in the dark. I was on a stone floor surrounded by the 3 identical stone walls. The other wall was made of bars. Hello? I said to no one in particular. No response. That's strange. I know I can sense someone else's chakra. I know you're there. Can you please tell me where I am? Crickets. Again. Great. I noticed my legs and arms had cuffs on them. The chains from the cuffs connected to the back wall. I could tell they were chakra infused. I wonder what they do. I sat there for what felt like hours before someone walked up to the bars. Stand up, he said coldly. I did as told. Back up to the wall and don't move. Don't even think about attacking me either. Got it, demon? I nodded. I slowly backed up to the wall and stood completely still. He used chakra to unlock the bars and walked up to me. Slowly he uncuffed me, stopping every time to make sure I wouldn't do anything. Finally all the cuffs were off. I rubbed my wrists, not expecting what happened next. I was knocked to the floor by a powerful kick. The Anbu man held a kunai to my neck. I said not to move. He grabbed my hair and pulled me to my feet. Grabbing my hands, he wrapped them around my back and cuffed me yet again. Wow, so I was uncuffed just so I could be put into a different pair of cuffs. He pushed me towards the front of the cell. We walked out of it into an unknown destination. After walking through dark halls, we made it to a door. He opened the door and pushed me in. The lights were dim, but my eyes still had to adjust after being in darkness for so long. When my eyes finally adjusted, I noticed rows of people. I was pushed harshly to my knees and locked into place with a bar behind me, over the cuffs. I noticed there were 3 separate groups. Ninja, civilians, and another group I couldn't make out. We are gathered here today to discuss the future of Naruto Uzumaki. A voice boomed through the room. What, my future? Time for the voting. We have already discussed everything else. The voice said again. Those who want Naruto Uzumaki kept in containment, raise your hands. I saw hands raised throughout the crowd. Thank you. Now, those who want him sent away, raise your hands. This time hands shot up everywhere. The civilian crowd was yelling their normal insults and some ninja joined in. I had noticed some people that never raised their hands, but I couldn't tell who they were. Excuse me, I said barely above a whisper. No one heard. I repeated it a bit louder. This time a few people noticed. Fine then. Excuse me, I shouted. This time people noticed. The room went silent. Can someone tell me what is happening? I said, trying my best to be polite. After going through some things about you and your past, we had to decide what to do with you. The voice from before said. What do you mean by that? I asked, slightly irritated. After reviewing your actions, past and present, we have come to the decision to send you away, they said. And by sent away, you mean banished. Am I correct? Yes. I looked down. I knew this might happen by the slightest chance, but still. This was too far. I laughed quietly, earning shocked and concerned stares. You know what? Fine. Banish me. I'm done with you people anyway, I said coldly. Some gasps could be heard from the crowd. Take him away, the voice said. The bar was lifted and I was pulled to my feet. They pushed me forward and to the exit. We walked up a flight of stairs and through another door. I was met with brightness. The sun shone down on my blonde hair and everything seemed so peaceful. I chuckled. It is far from peaceful right now. I looked back and noticed that we had come from the Hokage Tower. I never knew it had a basement. The Anbu surrounding me lead me down the streets, not caring that people would see me. They walked me to my house and uncuffed me, giving me the usual warning. I grabbed a pair of clothes and my money. That's really all I have. Oh wait. I ran back to my room, grabbing the picture I held so dear to me. Thinking about them, I wonder if they know what's going on. I put my stuff in a small bag and walked to the front door. Bye house, I said sadly. I had made so many memories here. I guess that doesn't matter now, does it? The Anbu cuffed me again before walking me back to the Hokage Tower. We walked to Granny's room and knocked. No response. Weird. After a minute a quiet, "Come in," could be heard. I was pushed, yet again, into the room. Inside lay Granny along with the sensei and my friends. Granny's eyes were red. I guess she has been crying. Naruto Uzumaki, she paused, unable to talk. By popular vote, you are hereby banished from the Hidden Leaf Village, she finished. My eyes became dull and a shadow cast over my face. Hinata and Sakura had tears falling down their faces. The rest of my friends were trying to stay strong, but I could feel their pain. I bowed. Thank you for everything, Lady Hokage, I said. I stood up straight and looked at my friends. Sorry for causing you trouble, I said to them. I don't think I can take any more. If I say one more thing I'll break down. Uncuff him now, Granny ordered. The Anbu nodded and released the cuffs. I rubbed my wrist. They had purple lines from the handcuffs. Go ahead you guys. Let's see him off, she said as everyone started walking to the door. I guess I'm leaving. We walked to the gates of Konoha. Arriving at the gates we all stopped. I sighed and turned around. Bye guys. I hope you become really strong and have a great life, I said, letting one tear escape my eye. They all ran to me and hugged me. Now everyone was crying. Great. We'll miss you, knucklehead, Sakura said. All of a sudden I felt another familiar chakra. Sasuke, I said, earning confused looks. Hey Dobi, he said. Everyone turned to the voice. He walked over to me. I heard what happened, he said with a hint of sadness. Yeah, we stood in silence for a while before you walked closer to me. Suddenly I was engulfed in a hug. I was surprised to say the least, and everyone else was no different. I hugged back and squeezed tightly. "I'm sorry," he said. "It's my fault. If I hadn't been so stupid and left the village," he squeezed back, "it's not your fault." We broke the hug. "Be safe," he said. "Yeah," and with that I left the village. My home of 16 years. "I'll miss you, my friends and sensei." I walked away from the village, tears freely flowing down my cheeks. I tried not to break down in front of them. Luckily I didn't cry that much in front of them. Well, I guess I should put that in the past. I had to think about my future. I walked for hours before the sun started setting. I decided it was a good time to set up camp. Oh crap, that's what I forgot. Never mind then. Off to find the next village. And with that I kept walking. Time skipped till to 2 days later. It was about noon. I've been traveling for 3 days and only slept once. I decided to just sleep in a tree last night. Now I can see a village in the distance. Hope. I walked for about half a mile before I made it to the village entrance. "State your business," one of the guards said. "Wow, they're much better than our guards." "Well, not our anymore." I shake off that thought and answer the question. "Just looking for a place to eat and stay the night," I said, smiling. "You seem young. Why are you by yourself?" the other guard asked. "I'd rather not say," I said with my kindest smile. They nodded. "You may go," they said in unison. I walked around before smelling heaven. "Ramen. Why are you yelling?" "I was sleeping." "Sorry, Karama, but they have ramen." "Great. You need food. You have eaten in days." "That wouldn't be a first." "Let's not think about that. Remember ramen." "Oh yeah." I ran to beautiful smell. I walked into the store and sat at the table. "What can I get you, young man?" a lady with long brown hair asked, smiling sweetly. I cut myself off. "I can't say the usual, can I? I'm so stupid." I looked in my wallet. "Oh, what's the cheapest ramen you have?" I asked. Her smile faltered for a split second. "Our number 2, she said. "I'll take one number 2 please," I said. She nodded and started cooking. In minutes I was eating heaven on earth. I finished the bowl in a minute. That was delicious. "Thank you," I said, paying her. As much as I would like 10 more bowls, one can't afford to waste money. "You're welcome. Have a nice day." I waved and walked out. I searched for a cheap inn to stay at. I eventually found one and booked the room for the night. The room was tiny, not that I cared. It was warm and cozy though. I flopped onto the bed and immediately passed out. Some good sleep would be nice. Then back to traveling. Dream. I ran as fast as I could to my house. You could hear a group of people yelling behind me. Things were being thrown at me. Luckily most of them were drunk, so they missed me. Suddenly something hit my head. I looked down to see a rock with blood on it. Whatever. Just keep running. I ran and ran and ran and ran for what felt like forever. Many other things had hit me by the time I made it to my house. I ran in and locked the door before passing out on the cold floor. End dream. I woke up just before sunrise. I didn't get the good sleep I was looking for, but at least I got sleep. I sat up and got out of bed. Grabbing my bag and making my bed came first. I did that, then left the inn. It was like I was never there. Back to my travels. My mind started to wander as I walked down the dirt trail to nowhere. I'm so bored. I need to find a new home. Somewhere with kind people. Good ramen too, of course. I don't like the idea of a new home. I feel like I'm, how do I put this, betraying my original home. To get my mind off of things I began to sing. I sang whatever came to mind, letting my voice fill the area around me. It was relaxing. It was decently sunny and the sunlight gave you a warm feeling. A light, occasional breeze would blow every once in a while. You could hear rivers in the distance if you listened closely. It was peaceful. I wish it could be like this forever. I walked for hours before setting up camp. I had bought a sleeping bag while trying to find the inn at the last village. I laid out the sleeping bag and made a small fire. Time for sleep. It's not like I have anywhere to go anyway. I slipped into a light sleep after about an hour. Third person. Naruto slept peacefully in his sleeping bag, unaware of the person watching him. The person snuck up to Naruto before knocking him fully unconscious so that he wouldn't wake up on the journey. But to where were they going? And who is this mystery person? Naruto's Pav. I was slowly waking up, feeling kind of weird. I kept my eyes closed so the sunlight wouldn't hurt them. That's when I noticed something wrong. This definitely is not the ground. I noticed there were chains around my wrist and ankles strapping me to what I believe is a chair. I stirred slightly and sat up straight. I could hear voices start to shush each other. "So you're finally awake," a voice said. I opened my eyes and let them adjust to the light. I could hear Kurama growl inside me. My face paled. "The Akatsuki," I whispered. "Ding, ding, ding," a man with silver hair joked. I decided struggling now would probably be a bad decision. "We want to ask you a few questions," the man I knew as Sasori said. "Straight to the point, I see." "Ask away," I said. "You gave in rather easily." "That's not like you." "I'm curious, Naruto. Why were you alone?" A voice I knew all too well said. My face lit up a little, but it wasn't noticeable. "Itachi?" I asked. A figure slowly walked out from the shadows. "Itachi. It's good to see you," I said, smiling. "Thanks, but will you answer my question?" he asked. A shadow cast over my face and my eyes dulled again. "You two know each other?" Deidara asked. Itachi nodded and looked back at me. "Naruto?" Itachi questioned. "Do I have to say?" I asked, not looking at him. At this point the whole group was wondering why I was acting like this. "Yes," a man with orange hair said. I sighed before taking a deep breath. "I was banished," I said sourly but held a smile. I looked up to see shocked faces. Why would they banish their Jinchuriki? Kisame yelled. "Yeah, I'll bet he's lying to get info from us," Deidara yelled. "You do remember I was the one kidnapped. It's not like I snuck in here," I said. Everyone face-palmed at Deidara. He sighed. "Oops, still. Why would they banish you, Naruto?" Itachi asked. I looked at him like he was stupid. "It's so obvious. Who wouldn't want to get rid of a monster the moment they saw it?" I put it simply. Itachi seemed slightly saddened but showed no hint of it. Stupid Uchiha and their stupid stone-cold faces. That's a bit harsh. Would they really do that for nothing? "You must have done something really bad," this black and white Venus flytrap looking thing said. "I didn't. I brought Sasuke back to the village after we fought. I brought him to the hospital so they could heal them. I headed to Granny's room knowing they doctors wouldn't heal me, and then the council came and threw me in some cell thing. When I woke up they brought me to a court type thing and it was decided I would be banished. They took the smallest mistakes I made and used them all against me. They took every chance they could to get rid of me. Some had even tried to with their own hands before. And here we are now." I finished my long story. Their faces once again in shock. "I'm sorry," Itachi said. "It's not your fault. Also Sasuke is all better. He decided to stay in the village and was there to send me off," I said, smiling at Itachi. "Thank you. I don't know what Sasuke would do without you." My face saddened again. "Well, he's going to have to learn to do things without me from now on, I guess. I wonder how they're doing." I blabbed on without thinking. "Sorry, I'll be quiet." It was silent for a while. Itachi walked over to the man with orange hair. He leaned into the mont's ear and whispered something. He nodded. Itachi walked over to me and untied the chains. "I'm beginning to get used to bruises on my wrist," I said, lifting my arm up to show my bruised wrist. I tried to stand up but fell. Well, I would have if Itachi hadn't have caught me. "Thanks," he sat me down in the chair. "When was the last time you ate?" a girl with purple hair asked. "Why?" I asked, curious about the random question. "Because that might be why you're so weak right now." She walked over to me and put her hand near my stomach. Her hand started to glow green with her medical ninjutsu. "How long was I out?" I asked. "About a day or two," a man with an orange mask said. "Then it's been about 3 days. I ate 1 bowl of ramen 4 days ago," I said. "Wow, I guess it has been a while since I've eaten. You should take care of yourself better," a man with a mask and weird green eyes said. "You think I don't know that?" I hissed. "Sorry, I guess I've been more focused on finding somewhere to sleep," I apologized. "Naruto, would you like to join the Akatsuki? We would be giving you food and shelter. You would also be safe here," Itachi said. I was shocked to say the least. It was a good offer, but these were bad people. "We're not as bad as we seem. We may do bad things, but we do it for a good cause," he said. It's like he read my mind. I thought about it for a while. "Okay, I'll join the Akatsuki." "Well, no dip, Itachi. Anyways," I looked at the man with orange hair. "I am the leader Yahiko, also known as Nagato," he said. "Wait, why does that sound familiar?" "Aha, you're one of Pervy Sage's students," I exclaimed. He looked shocked. "Jiraiya-sensei?" he asked. I nodded. "So he is your sensei too?" I nodded again. "It's nice to finally meet you. Pervy Sage told me about you. He even mentioned you in his book," I said. "Anyway, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Nice to meet you, Yano," I said with a wide grin. "Oops, I guess I got too excited and added a "ya no." Did you say Namikaze? Asked Yahiko. Or Nagato? I don't know which. Yes? I said like I was questioning myself. He's the fourth Hokage's son, Itachi said. I guess he would know since he was in the village at the time of the Nine Tails attack. I nodded. He could give us good information on the leaf, don't you think? Said Kakuzu. I let out some of Kurama's chakra. Excuse me? I asked sickly sweet. Calm down, Naruto. Itachi said, putting a hand on my shoulder. Sorry. Also, I couldn't really give you that much information. They never really told me anything. Also, if you already forgot, I was banished, I said. The villagers never talked to me. The only words that came out of their mouths were insults and threats. I shivered remembering some of the things they did. To be honest, the only reason I learned about the nine-tailed fox was because villagers couldn't keep their mouths shut. Especially when they're drunk, I told them sadly. They all held a hint of sadness in their eyes. What do you mean by when they're drunk? Itachi asked. It's like it sounds. People blab when they're drunk. They also do very bad things, I said, slightly lifting up my shirt to show a few scars. Why didn't you fight back? Itachi yelled, grabbing both my shoulders. I stood up. You think I didn't? I did and learned the lesson not to do that ever again. Plus, attacking them would make me exactly what they call me. A monster, a demon, a thing. At this point I was stacking from anger and sadness. Probably shouldn't have done that. I started to fall, unable to keep my legs straight. Luckily Itachi caught me before I hit the ground. I'm sorry, Naruto. Let's get you some food. Okay? I nodded. He helped me walk to the kitchen and the others followed soon after. Itachi sat me down at the table. He began cooking some actually healthy food. Something I personally never had. After he finished cooking it, he set the plates on the table and took a seat next to me. Wow, you're like our mom or something, Deidara said, laughing. Itachi whipped his head towards him, Sharingan spinning. Sorry, Deidara said, holding his hands up on defense. I giggled. He's right, I whispered, shoving food in my mouth. This time he turned towards me. He smiled. What was that? He asked too nicely. NMMPPH. I mumbled inaudible words with food in my mouth. At this point everyone was laughing. Itachi sighed and started eating. I was full after about 6 bites. I leaned back in my chair and waited for the others to finish their food. You're not going to eat more? Asked Kisame, shoving a chunk of food in his mouth. I shook my head no. You barely ate anything, said Sasori. I sighed. After not eating for a while it's not the best idea to eat a lot. I'm used to eating very little anyways, so it's fine, I explained. That's not a good habit. You should slowly work up to eating more, Conan said. Thanks for the concern, but I'm alright, I smiled. They finished eating and all slowly left to wherever. I helped Itachi clean the dishes. You really are like their mom, I said while walking to the sink. Usually Conan cooks, but I occasionally do too, he said, continuing cleaning. It was really good. Thank you, I said. You're welcome. There was an awkward silence for a while before I spoke. Sue, what am I going to do around here and where am I going to sleep? I asked. I have no clue what they would need me for. Sure, I have the 9 tails, but that's about it. I don't think I'm particularly strong, though some may disagree. I don't know what you will be doing around here. You can ask Yahiko. As for sleeping, we don't have any extra rooms, so you'll either sleep on the couch or room with someone else, he explained. Those weren't the best options. I wouldn't feel safe sleeping on the couch. Not yet at least, though I don't want to room with someone. Ooh wait, light bulb, can I room with you? I asked Itachi. He stopped what he was doing and thought about my question. I have no obligation, unless you snore. Then I will kick you out, he said coldly. I laughed. Thank you. I don't think I snore, but I don't really know. I never really thought about what I'm like when I'm asleep. We finished cleaning the dishes and walked through a set of halls. We made it to a door. Itachi knocked and waited for a response. I'm assuming this isn't his room. Come in. We walked in the room. It looked kind of like the Hokage's office room. Sir, Naruto will be rooming with me if that is alright with you, Itachi stayed. Yahiko nodded. And I'm assuming he agreed to this? Conan said, looking at me. I nodded. Okay. We walked out of the room and down more hallways. Finally we made it to what I assumed was Itachi's room. He opened the door and walked in. I walked in behind him and closed the door. The room was relatively big. There was a queen-sized bed and a couch. Connected was a small closet and a bathroom. Fancy, I said. This place was about the size of my apartment. Hey Do you know where my backpack is? I asked. I hope he grabbed it. Yeah, here. He walked over to the closet and grabbed my bag out of it. I opened the bag and grabbed the photo. I held it close to my chest. I'm glad it's safe. Itachi looks at the photo before grabbing it out of my hands. Hey, what the h? I stopped myself as I saw him putting it on one of the nightstands. Oh, thank you, I said, and he smiled. He what? I looked again to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. There was no smile on his face. Maybe I was just imagining things. I grabbed out the only pair of clothes I had and looked at Itachi. He pointed towards a drawer in a dresser. I opened the drawer to see it was empty. I set my clothes down in it and closed it. What time is it? I asked. Around 10 p.m., Itachi said. You stink. When was the last time you showered? Rude. Now that I think about it. It was before I went on the mission to get Sasuke. Wow, maybe a week or two ago. He sighed and led me to the bathroom. Wow, it was a really big bathroom. There was a large bathtub and behind it was a giant shower. He grabbed my clothes from the drawer and set them near the sink. Shower, he commanded before walking out of the bathroom and closing the door. Okay then, maybe I will get treated better here. I just might make this my new home. Thanks Akatsuki. I hopped into the shower and let the warm water run down my back. To be honest, I felt very vulnerable like this. Itachi is just through that door. One door is what stands between an S-ranked missing nin and an unclothed, mistreated kid. I shivered at the thought. He wouldn't do anything, right? I shook the thought away and quickly washed off. It took me around 5 minutes to shower. I got out and dried off, quickly slipping my clothes on. I put a small towel on my hair and dried it as I walked out of the bathroom. Sorry it took me so long, I apologized. I had been in the bathroom for approximately 7 minutes, give or take a few. Itachi looked up from the book he was reading and shook his head. You didn't take long at all. No need to apologize. He eyed me up and down, causing my face to turn a light shade of pink. Wait, what? Am I blushing? Finally Itachi spoke. Do you want something comfier to sleep in? That looks like it would be uncomfortable to sleep in. There is no need. I am used to sleeping in this. Itachi stood up and walked over to me. Now that you are living with us, it's okay to accept things from others. Someone as young as you should have good memories to look back on, not ones of emptiness. I insist, just accept offers if they're good, Itachi said while walking to the closet. He grabbed out a gray long-sleeved shirt. It will probably be too big, but at least it will be more comfy than what you're in. He handed me the shirt and I accepted it with a smile. Thank you. Then came the awkward part. I couldn't figure out whether I should go to the bathroom to change or just stay here. Itachi went back to reading his book, paying no mind to me. I guess I can just change in here. He's not paying attention anyways. I slowly slipped of my shirt and folded it. I walked over to the dresser and set my shirt in the drawer. Then I walked back to his bed where I had set the shirt Itachi gave me. When I looked to see if Itachi was still reading, I was met with a surprise. He wasn't in his chair. Where did he go? Just as the thought passed my mind, a cold hand touched my back. I froze instantly, afraid of what would happen to me, but no hit came. No inappropriate touching or kicks. Just a hand running softly over my back. How could someone do this to such a kind soul? He whispered, running his hand over a scar on my back. I whimpered slightly, remembering what had happened when I got that scar. He turned me around and pulled me to his chest. I had never felt such warmth and comfort. I couldn't take it anymore. I began to softly cry. He tightened his grip on me. I thought about all I've been through. The hatred of the villagers. The few friends I had, never to be seen again. Being kicked out, mistreated. I just let it all out. We rocked back and forth a little longer before he let go. I was quiet, but in my head I whimpered at the loss of warmth. He grabbed the gray shirt and slipped it on me. The sleeves passed my fingertips and it reached down to mid-thigh. Thank you, I whispered. He smiled at me, and this time I knew it was real. You should get some rest, he said as he led me to his bed. I laid down and he pulled the blankets over me as if tucking in a child. Itachi walked back to the chair he was sitting at and continued to read. My eyes began to close as I started to slip into darkness. Good night, I said. Good night, Naruto, Itachi said quietly. That was the last thing I heard before drifting to sleep. I slowly opened my eyes and looked at my surroundings. The room was familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I started to panic. Oh wait, now I remember. The Akatsuki let me in as one of their own. I looked around for Itachi but couldn't find him. I guess he woke up already. What time is it? I slowly sat up and took the covers off. Now to find Itachi. I walked towards the door and slowly opened it, revealing the empty hallway. How am I supposed to find him with all these hallways? I wandered aimlessly, taking random right and left turns. That was until I ran into Deidara. Hey kid, what are you doing? It was still weird hearing the Akatsuki members being so nice. I wasn't used to it. I mean, they did try to kill me. Well, I was trying to find Itachi, but I got lost, I said, embarrassed. I probably looked stupid. Deidara laughed. He's probably in the kitchen. I guess I'll take you there since I was going there anyway. He began to walk down the hall and I followed closely behind. After way too many turns, we finally made it to an opening that wasn't a hallway. It opened into the living area and kitchen. And we're here. He swung his arm out to present the room as if showcasing an item on sale. Thank you. We walked towards the kitchen. The other members were already sitting at the table while Conan put food on the table. Nice of you to finally join us, Kisame sarcastically. Deidara mocked him while sitting down. I sat in the same place I sat yesterday. Sorry if I'm late, they turned to me. You're fine, Naruto, Conan said, sitting down with everyone else. Thank you for the food. We dug in and chatted about random things. We were on a good topic until someone had to ruin it. Hey wait, is that Itachi's shirt? Everyone stopped their conversations and looked from Itachi to me. Great. I began to blush. I nodded, avoiding their gazes. Wow, who knew Itachi could be such a sweetheart, Zetsu said. I wasn't going to let him sleep in the same outfit he'd been wearing for days. That's just not right, Itachi responded. Good point. But still, out of all people I never would have expected you to be so nice, Hidan retorted. Yeah, you're really mean to me. What's up with that? Deidara complained. I laughed at their childishness. Naruto is much younger than you. I would say he's not as strong as you, but I'm not sure, Itachi smirked. Hey, he's not that much younger, and I could beat him any day. Deidara's face was red from yelling and his cheeks were puffed out in frustration. I snickered. I'm not trying to be cocky, but I'm pretty sure I would beat him if we fought. What are you laughing at? Deidara yelled. I put my arms up in defense. Nothing. He crossed his arms. Yeah, sure, he said, not believing my lie. We talked more and finished eating. Everyone left and I helped clean the dishes with Conan. So it really is Itachi's shirt, she said, wiggling her eyebrows. I blushed. Don't make it weird. The dishes clanked together as I put them up. Sorry. I hope you learn to be comfortable around us. We really mean you no harm, so don't be afraid to be yourself. Aha, she turned to me. Why don't we get you some new clothes? I hadn't really thought about it. The last time I got a new outfit was, I can't remember. A wardrobe change might be nice. I don't have very much money though, so I couldn't. No. I'll pay for it, Conan cut me off. She finished cleaning the last dish and grabbed my wrist. Suddenly I was yanked out of the kitchen and through more hallways. We halted to a stop at Nagato's door and she burst it open. We're going shopping. Bye, and she ran back out. I was yanked forward with the force of 5 ninja ostriches. The surrounding was blurry with the speed of us running. Won't you have to hide your identity? I asked, worried about her getting caught. She shook her head. The people in this village don't mind us. We help them and they help us. It's a relatively peaceful little village. She spoke while pulling me into a small shop. Oh, hello there, Conan. An old lady with a purple kimono greeted her. Now who might this be? A boyfriend mayhaps? I blushed at her statement. No. Let me introduce you to the newest member of our group, she gestured towards me. I rubbed the back of my neck and bowed. It's nice to meet you, miss. I straightened up. My name is Naruto. She smiled at me. My, what a sweet boy. Are they treating you well? I'm sure you've noticed how rowdy those boys of yours are. I laughed at the lady's statement. Yes, ma'am. They're treating me very nicely. Another woman wandered over, having been listening to our conversation. Now Conan, what were you thinking letting this young gentleman stay with you guys? Her brown hair was tied in a ponytail, slipping over her shoulder when she turned her head. Everyone in the village knows their reputation. I tilted my head and looked at Conan. Reputation? Conan sighed. They tend to make a scene and also destroy some things along the way. Conan looked as if she is remembering old war memories. But she lifted her head up. Despite what you may think, a certain someone seems to have taken a like to him. She wiggled her eyebrows. Who is she talking about? Ooh, I hear tea. Who is it? The young lady from earlier spoke. The most stone-cold person. You would never expect it, Conan said. I seriously have no clue who she's talking about. Oh, wait, I'm stupid. I blushed. No, he didn't, I muttered. We just happen to be former acquaintances, the girl squealed. Young man, I've heard that excuse more times than I can remember, the old lady pat my shoulder. Wait, who are we talking about anyway? Conan giggled at the brunette's question. Itachi, she exclaimed. They both looked shocked. Really? They yelled. You mean even Itachi has a soft spot? You must be someone special, Blondie, the brown-haired lady asked. I clapped my hands together in a prayer position. Can you please quiet down? My face probably looked like a tomato. You know, we should start shopping for clothes. Sounds good, right? I was basically begging Conan at this point. She noticed my plead and intensely red face. Okay. Any ideas for him, ladies? The girls' faces lit up. Oh, do we? At this point, I swear we've tried on 1,000 outfits. This is worse than going on long missions. I walked out of the changing room with my last outfit on. My legs felt kind of exposed with the rips of the black jeans. My stomach, on the other hand, felt way more exposed. I was wearing a crop top much like size except it was a dark blue. Luckily I had a long black cardigan to cover myself with. Oh my goodness. You look amazing, the lady, which I now knew as Kiri, squealed. I feel exposed and vulnerable. I slowly slinked my arms around my stomach with the cardigan. You look great and don't worry. If anyone hits on you I'll send them straight to hell, Conan balled her hand in a fist. I smiled at them. Thanks, but I don't think that will happen. Their smiles fell. Don't put yourself down like that, Kiri hugged me. She's right, young man. Don't forget how beautiful you are, Masayu Tilda-san, the old shopkeep, said. I smiled at their kind words. Compliments never came easy, I had to work for them. Rarely did I ever get compliments in the village. The village. My smile faltered. What's wrong? Conan seemed to notice my smile slip. I shook my head. It's nothing, she frowned. Okay, let's go check out. Conan grabbed my hand and led me to the counter. We'll talk about it on the way home. I was shocked at her statement, but by her tone, I knew she was serious. I nodded and waited while she paid for my clothes. Thanks again, Conan yelled to the employees while walking out of the store. Anytime, can't wait to see what happens between those two. I tripped over my foot at Kiri's embarrassing remark. I waved bye to them and continued walking back with Conan. We had walked but a distance before Conan brought up earlier. Why did you look so sad? I shrugged. I guess my thoughts trailed to my village. I shouldn't be missing it after everything they did to me, but I've lived my whole life there. Everything, all my first experiences, school, missions, my whole life was in that village. I love it with all my heart. I just wish the villagers hadn't hated me so much. I tried to forgive them when everything first started happening to me. Instead of telling myself it was them and not me, I made myself believe it was my fault and not their stupid opinions. Part of me still believes I could have been better, do something that would make them love me. No, not love me. Just, at least tolerate me, that was all I could ever ask for. I suddenly realized how long I had been talking. I'm sorry, I trailed off. I looked away as we walked in silence. She grabbed my hand and squeezed it. Why did you keep all this to yourself? I didn't answer her question. I hadn't ever really thought about it. Why not tell someone? I don't know. Maybe I never have because I've never had anyone to talk to about things. I had people to talk to but I didn't think any of them would understand my situation or my pain. Conan smiled at me. Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore. We've all been through a lot of pain. We'll be with you, and if at some point one of us isn't, I'll kill them. I looked around realizing that we had made it back to the base. I'm going to eat your food if you two don't get over here quick, yelled a certain silver-haired man. My lips formed into a shaky smile as I began to cry. I turned and hugged Conan. Thank you. My voice was barely above a whisper. She hugged me back and rubbed my back. You don't need to thank me. We released from the hug. Now let's go eat some food. I'm sure you're hungry, as if on cue my stomach growled. I blushed at the awkward noise. Yeah, we set down the bags of clothes on the couch and headed to the table. I wiped my arms across my face to rid all traces of tears, though I knew my eyes would look red and puffy. Conan and I sat down in our spots and began eating. What happened to you? Kisame asked. Yeah, you look like hell, Deidara said. That was rude. Anyways, I've been trying on clothes all day. I kept eating as they asked questions. Why are your eyes ow? We all turned to look Yahiko's sudden outburst. Conan put her hand over her mouth in an almost mocking manner. Oops, sorry. My elbow slipped. We all looked at each other, confusion written on our faces. Well, not me actually. I heard what he asked before Conan elbowed him. I silently thanked her. We finished eating and people began leaving the table one by one. A yell screeched across the room, Didera. You're on cleaning duty tonight, come back here. No, I hate cleaning, he pouted. I can do it, I offered. But you cleaned it this morning and the other night, Conan said. I shrugged. I'm used to cleaning every night so it's okay. Conan gave me a disapproving look. It's fine, I promise, she sighed but quickly changed moods with a smirk. Hey Itachi, do you think you could help him? That's why she was smirking. Are you kidding me? I don't see why not. Everyone was gone for the room except me and Itachi. I looked at him while he helped me with the cleaning. You really don't have to help me if you don't want to. I can do it by myself. He stopped what he was doing to look at me. It's okay. I'm not doing anything else so I might as well help. Or, might it be that I make you uncomfortable? He questioned. No, it's not your fault. Sorry, I shouldn't have asked. I quickly went back to cleaning and shut my mouth. I was so focused that I didn't gaze on me. I finished cleaning everything and looked over at Itachi. Finished, me too. We began to walk back to the room. Oh, can you wait just a second? I have to go get my clothes off the couch, do you need help? I thought about it. That would be nice. We walked to the couch and got the clothes, resuming our walk to our room. We made it and I collapsed on the bed. I'm so tired. Oh, I should probably get off his bed. I slowly picked myself up. Where do you want me to put my clothes? I asked. Just set them in the closet. I walked over to the closet and placed them down. I turned around to walk back to the room but ran into something instead. I'm so sorry, I said looking up at Itachi. He continued to the closet to put the clothes down. It's fine, he says that, but I can't help but feel embarrassed. You can shower first, Itachi offered to me. I nodded, grabbing some clothes. This sounds weird, but can I wear your shirt again? It was really comfy, I scratched the back of my head. Why do I get so flustered so easily? He walked over and grabbed the shirt for me. To say I was shocked doesn't even begin to describe it. Thank you, I quickly said before running to the bathroom. This is so embarrassing. I slapped my hands on my face. Get over Naruto. Come on. I hopped in the shower and got ready for bed as fast as I could. I walked out of the bathroom and put my clothes in the dirty laundry. Where do you want me to sleep? I asked. I know I slept in his bed last night, but it might make him uncomfortable if I did it again. If it doesn't make you uncomfortable, you can sleep in my bed with me. Well, that was unexpected. Yeah, as long as you're okay with it, I said. He nodded. I'm going to shower then. He walked to the bathroom. I walked to his bed and crawled under the covers. As soon as I hit the pillow, I began to fall asleep. A lot of things happened today. Just thinking about it makes me tired. I thought I would fall asleep before Itachi finished showering, but it appears I was wrong. I heard the bathroom door open and Itachi turned the lights off. The bed shifted under his weight, causing my back to slightly lean towards him. Just go to sleep, Naruto. I gave myself a pep talk to fall asleep. I slowly drifted off, leaning against Itachi's back. What a funny situation this is. Warmth. That's what I felt. After what I felt in my sleep, it was comforting. My breath was fast and I was cold with a light layer of sweat, but now I was warm. It was a level of comfort I had never felt. Where the feeling was coming from I didn't know. My thoughts are scrambled from my dream. No, a dream isn't the right way to describe it. Nightmare, memory, a recollection of the past. Any of those would be a better description. I began to sit up to reorient myself but stopped when I realized a slight weight on my waist. The room was dark but I could see the outline of a face. I looked down at the weight, causing me to remain in bed. That's right. Last night Itachi and I decided to sleep together. My face began to heat up and my ears began to burn. By my fairly obvious deductive reasoning, I assumed this is Itachi's arm then. I looked back at his face, slowly beginning to see more details as my eyes adjusted to the lack of light. His pale face was so clean and his hair was falling over his shoulder. I shook my head as if that would dissipate my thoughts of the man in front of me. I don't want to disturb him, so my best bet would be to lay back down. I wouldn't really mind laying back down with him if it weren't for the hot feeling on my face. I don't know why I'm blushing. I have no reason to be embarrassed. I made my way back to my original place beside him. Now that I think about it, I never would have taken Itachi for the cuddly type. My lips formed a smile as I tried not to giggle. The serious and deadly Itachi snuggling with a dumb blonde. Who would have guessed? My thoughts began to wander until I ran out of them. I can't go back to sleep. I have run out of things to wonder about, and I'm stuck in bed with Itachi. Isn't that just lovely? Suddenly the mass in front of me began to stir. In an instant, I was met with dark obsidian eyes. They blinked drowsily before suddenly becoming alert. Good morning, how long have you been awake? His eyes softened with each word. I really thought he would say something cliché like, how long have you been staring at me? Or, enjoying the view? Though now that I think about it, he doesn't seem like he would say that. I don't know, maybe an hour ago. I couldn't fall asleep after waking up earlier. I kept staring at him, seemingly entranced by his eyes. Why are you up so early? If I'm right, it should be around 5:30 or 6. His eyes focused as if he was trying to find the answer somewhere in the darkroom. How do you know what time it is? Itachi's gaze flowed back to me. Answer my question first. I pouted but answered reluctantly. I just tend to wake up early. He searched my eyes to see if I was lying. Suddenly the weight from my waist lifted and I could feel the faint touches on my side as his hand made it to my face. He brushed away my hair and grazed his thumb under my eye. I can tell you've been crying. My eyes widened. I hadn't even noticed. I must have cried in my sleep. I smiled to dispel any concern, but the look on his face tells me it didn't work. Why? The question was short and simple, but the answer was far from it. My eyes fell away from his intense stare. Just a bad dream. My eyes traveled back to his. I understand if you don't want to tell me, but keeping your emotions bottled up is bad for you. Tell me if something is bothering you. It's okay to show flaws and weakness. He smiled at me. A real smile. No concealing it, no pretending it didn't happen. I could feel the blood rushing through every beat of my heart. Every breath felt heavy. I smiled back at him with the same, true, smile. Thank you. Itachi's hand slipped away from my face. A slight chill washed over me as he moved away. He pulled off the covers and got out of bed. So I'm assuming the nightmare was the real reason for you waking up this early, Itachi suggested while walking toward the bathroom. Well, kind of. That is the reason I woke up, but I wasn't lying when I said I wake up early. He walked back into the room with a hairbrush in hand. On the other hand, it's usually the nightmares that cause me to wake up early. He walked over to me. May I? He gestured at the hairbrush. Yeah, sure. It was a strange offer. He began to brush through the knots in my hair. So the nightmares are a recurring thing, I nodded. And might I be so bold to assume they wouldn't offer you any type of therapy in the village? The ends of my lips curled into a frown. I never told anyone, and even if I had told them, I doubt they would have done anything about it. In fact, they'd probably find some way to make it worse. There was a momentary stop of movement, but he quickly went back to his steady pace of brushing. Sorry I mentioned it, he said, beginning to brush through my hair with his hands. I shook my head lightly. No, it's fine. Then something happened. From deep in my throat came a sudden rumble. Though it was soft, it was audible. My head perked up. Did you just purr? I turned towards Itachi. What was that sound I just made? Maybe that was the only response I could come up with. Well. Who knew? Itachi smirked. If Itachi smirked, something very bad is about to happen. Who knows, maybe the world is ending. Itachi began running his hands through my hair with such delicacy. I leaned into his touch. His long finger glided through what knots were left in my hair. Then, once again, came a rumble from my throat. I tried to tell him to stop, but no words were forming. Then another sudden change. His soft touch glided towards my neck. Light touches lead to a heavy one. He began massaging my neck. All the knots, all the tension. It was like every I worried about flowed out with each touch. I leaned the back of my head against his stomach as his hands moved to my shoulders. Why wouldn't they help you? Itachi ran his hands over my shoulders. Because they hated me. I groaned as he rubbed a knot out. They called me a demon, a monster, so many names. They only did it because the 9 tails is sealed within me. Kurama isn't even a bad person. Just because you indirectly saved the village by having the 9 tails sealed in you? Furthermore, you've met the 9 tails? I nodded. Interesting. Tell me. His hand slid down to my back. What did they do to you? He wrapped his hands around to my sides. Everything. Sometimes they would corner me in groups. Sometimes it was just one person. Some were ninjas and others were just civilians. They all hated me equally though. Those terrible eyes. All the glares and all the pain. On special occasions they would be merciful. I turned my head to the side as if that would make the pain go away. Merciful? As in, they wouldn't do bad things to you? I closed my eyes and spoke with a shaking breath. No, when I say merciful it just means a lighter punishment. Lighter punishment, I would probably describe as no weapons. I could feel the disappointment radiating off him. Then another feeling washed over. One of panic yet relief. His slender yet strong arms wrapped around my waist. I jolted and my breath fastened. He let go and stepped back. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I started to shake. The heavy pounding of my heart was overbearing. Faces flashed in my mind. Their scornful faces. Faces of disgust. Yet under all that disgust, some wore a look of lust. Touches where they shouldn't be. Hands where they weren't welcomed. I started gasping for air. I gripped the collar of my shirt away from my neck. I tried anything that would help me breathe. Naruto. I whipped my head around to look at Itachi. He reached out to me like you would reach out to a frightened animal. In a moment of desperation, I reached out for him too. The bed creaked as I leapt to him, and a thud could be heard as we toppled to the floor. I know you're different than them. I was saying words between pants. Desperate gasps for air. I'm just scared. You don't have to explain. I know, but it's okay now. I'm here for you. He ran his hands through my hair. I'm so confused. I get so scared at certain touches, but I looked up at him. You were so gentle. You cared about my well-being, but I still got scared. I don't know what's wrong with me. Tears began to stream down my face. There is nothing wrong with you. He looked me in the eyes with an intensity I had never seen before. A different type of intensity. One with care and love behind it. It isn't your fault. People have done bad things to you that you didn't deserve. Just calm down. Take deep breaths. I know it's hard, but try to focus on the good things in your life. My eyes softened. The only good thing in my life is the Akatsuki. Not that that's a bad thing. My thoughts traveled back to the man in front of me. I wrapped my arms around his neck and buried my face in his neck. Carefully he hugged me back and held me close. My breathing began to level out to a steady pace. We had sat there in each other's arms while Itachi stroked my back. You smell good. I blushed at my own statement and pushed away from Itachi. He looked at me with confusion. Thank you? My face reddened more if that was even possible. I'm sorry, that was really weird. He smiled at me. It's perfectly fine. Plus, it seems like you're better now. I smiled at him. I have you to thank for that. I looked at the position we were in. Here, I stood up and held out my hand for him. Let me help you up. Gladly, he took my hand in his and stood up. Do you want to go train to get your mind off of things? I nodded. I'd do anything to distract me from my thoughts. After everything that happened, I was having a whirlwind of emotions. First waking up in Itachi's arms. Then, him brushing my hair while I spilled out all my feelings. The feeling of him touching me as he massaged me. Even after all the nice things he did for me, I went and flipped out on him, but despite all that, he still stayed with me. He helped me, held me, supported me. The care and sympathy in his words. The way his arms fit around me. We had sat there for forever. I just met him yet we had already gotten so close. Let's get changed and go. I was snapped out of my thoughts by Itachi's voice. Yeah. I picked out clothes to wear and started to quickly change. Are you ready? I turned to look at Itachi and was taken over by a strange feeling. There stood Itachi. Top exposed, no shirt, just abs. He turned to me. Almost, just a second, he finished putting on his shirt and grabbed some ninja tools. I followed him as he opened the door to the hall. After you. He smirked and gestured with his hand. Taking his invitation, I quickly made my way out of the room. Why am I so nervous? And all the blushing. I sound like Sakura when she fantasizes about Sasuke. Oh no. No, 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 no. I do not have a stupid teenage girl crush on the Itachi Uchiha. Itachi and I trained together for weeks. If he was on a mission I would train with someone else. Training with skilled ninja like the Akatsuki really increases the effectiveness of your training. Plus training helps get your mind off things. We didn't do just ninja training tough. Conan helped me train to overcome panic attacks. I didn't know what they were until Conan told me. She made me medicine in case I had a really bad panic attack and couldn't stop it. I am actually really glad the Akatsuki found me and took me in. Everybody was in their respective place for the meeting. Today was our mission debriefing. I even got my own place and an Akatsuki cloak. I've always wondered what it would be like to wear one. It's surprisingly comfy. Now that you are all here, we will begin. This mission will be an analyzation mission. It will only become a hands-on mission if something goes wrong. We are investigating an organization named Tana, not Shelf. From what we have gathered, they are an organization that runs primarily on illegal auctions. Yahiko set down a scroll with information. Like illegal weapons. Deidara sounded too happy when he said that. No, illegal auctions that bid off, he paused, people. So, human trafficking. I was fairly familiar with the topic. Yes, Naruto, like human trafficking. You seem unusually calm about people being sold off. Kakuzu looked at me with a hint of confusion. I am more educated on the topic than most. There are 3 main requirements for being out in the auction. I motioned quotations around the word requirements. You didn't have to meet them. Matter of fact, they were more like reasons for getting put in the auction. I held up a finger for each requirement. First reason you might be chosen is the main one, and that would be? I paused. The main one is for your body. If you have the right body type that people would want, then you are more common on the list. Not only how good you work or look, but you can also be chosen for how young you look. Noblemen usually buy the people sold for services such as cleaning, cooking, and other uses. They took in the information I was giving. Some members looked surprised, though I couldn't tell if the shock was from how much I knew or what people were being sold for. Okay, the first requirement isn't too much of a surprise. What about the other 2? The second requirement is special chakra or a Kekkei Genkei. I don't know if it's happened yet, but I am sure Jinchuriki fit this requirement too. People from well-known clans with special Kekkei Genkei are more expensive than those sold for their looks. There are different reasons for buying these people. Noblemen buy them for protection, as a bodyguard. Scientists, doctors, and some ninja buy them for experimentation. There are different benefits of buying a Kekkei Genkei wielder. I looked at Itachi. For example, if Itachi was in the auction, he would most likely be sold for his eyes. You know what? I paused to look around at them. All of you would be sold for special jutsu. You guys are a strange group, I chuckled. Lastly, the third requirement. If there is a high bounty on your head or you would make a lot of money, then you fit the third requirement. This is the smallest category, seen as most shinobi with a high bounty on their heads are skilled shinobi. Those unfortunate enough to get caught are sold to people that then sell them off to other people. I dusted off my hands. There's your short lesson on human trafficking. They stood in silence taking in the information. Thank you for the information. Yahiko was writing something down on a scroll. You seem to know a lot on the subject. Hidan crossed his arms. Well, as I am always being targeted, I had to learn about these kinds of things. Oh, you mean like how we targeted you? Toby seemed excited that he came to the obvious elephant in the room. Yes, idiot, like how we targeted him. Sasori smacked Toby over the head. He rubbed the back of his head and muttered something at Sasori. Now it could just be me, Zetsu began. But it sounds like you fit the bill perfectly. My eyes drifted away as I thought about it. Yeah, I noticed that too, Deidara added. Now they were all thinking about it. You guys fit the requirements too. I pointed at them. Do we look young enough to be in an auction? I guess that was true. I look young enough. Deidara flipped his hair to his back. No, you don't. Shut up. Deidara crossed his arms and glared at Kisame. Do you think it would be too dangerous to send you on this mission? Conan looked at me with worry in her eyes. I shook my head. I can handle myself. Plus, this is an undercover analysis mission. I'll be fine, she nodded. Okay, listen up. Due to his knowledge on the subject, Naruto will infiltrate the auction along with Itachi. Kisame and Zetsu will be on guard duty outside. If something goes wrong, they will signal for you too. Do you understand? We nodded. After learning where we would be, Yahiko explained what we would be doing. Itachi would be leaving earlier than me to make sure no one knew we were there together. Of course, we would be in disguise. It would be quite a hassle if someone found out it was us. Lucky for us, the auction was a masquerade. One last thing, we turned our attention to Yahiko. There will be a major inconvenience if what info we have is correct. There might be some leaf or sand shinobi on one of the 3 auction days. I stepped back a little. My eyes became wide. A 1 of 3 chance of running into shinobi. If you run into them, make sure they don't know who you are. Especially you, Naruto. It will probably be hard on you, but know that they aren't fellow shinobi anymore. I smiled, though I was the least bit happy. Don't worry, they weren't fellow shinobi to begin with, he nodded. That's all for now. The mission is in 4 days. Make sure you are ready for it. He picked up the scrolls. You are dismissed. And just like that, the meeting was over. Sneaking into an auction with a chance of running into Leaf and Sand Shinobi. What a great idea for my first mission. Are you sure you'll be okay on this mission? Itachi walked out of the bathroom. I nodded my head. Yeah, I'll be fine. I thought about everything we learned at the meeting. I wasn't close with many Leaf or Sand Shinobi. The bed sank as he lay down with me. I wasn't really close to many people at all actually. Yes. Sorry I brought it up. The room darkened as he turned off the light. But think about the possibility of someone you were close to showing up. Though it is highly unlikely, what would you do then? There was a weight on my chest as I began to think about his question. I don't know. It wasn't much of an answer, but it was the best one I could come up with. That's okay. You don't have to come up with an answer. The room grew quiet in an awkward silence. It felt like something was missing. I felt like something would go wrong. Like I wasn't considering something I should. I couldn't get any words out. Yes? What was I going to say? Why did I open my stupid mouth? Can you? I trailed off to a whisper, hold me. What are you saying, Naruto? I can't hear you, don't make me repeat it. I don't know if I can. I cleared my throat. If it isn't too weird for you, could you hold me? Please, I struggled to get the words out. My answer came soon enough as I felt an arm draped over my waist. My body was pulled towards him as his strong arms held me. The hairs on my neck stood up when he talked. Sure, we moved a little and got into a restful position. Are you comfy? His hot breath hit my neck with every word and breath. Yes, I managed to utter the words. Thank you. He began to play with my hair. The sensation made my eyes begin to grow weary. Before my eyes fell shut, he whispered one last word, good night. I pulled the sleeves of my tux over my arms. The material was soft against my skin. My white tux matched the black color of Itachi's. The complexion of his pale skin matched well with the color. The black matched his obsidian eyes. Let me handle your tie. Itachi walked to the closet and grabbed my tie. The heels of his shoes tapped against the floor as he walked back over. He unfolded the tie and wrapped his arms around my neck. I fiddled with the sleeves of my shirt to distract myself from the close proximity. I can do it myself, you know. I crossed my arms and puffed out my cheeks. At least I know the basics to tying a tie. I think. I've never really had to dress fancy as my life consisted of cheap, affordable clothes for missions. He finished tying it and backed up to look at me. I looked at his tux. The sleeves fit tightly around his arms, though the tux subtly hid his toned chest. Even though he's incredibly strong and fairly muscular, he still manages to have quite the slim body type. You look stunning. He handed me my mask, snapping me out of my thoughts. I took the mask from his hand and put it over my eyes. You jest, kind sir, I joked, dramatically swooning. He laughed at my antics. Itachi grabbed his mask and we left the room. You ready for this mission? Itachi looked down at me, then back up to navigate the hallways. The only sound was the tapping of our feet on the floor. Yes, short but sweet. It was the only quick answer I could come up with. Between the Leaf Shinobi and my complete and large amount of distaste for these auctions, ready as I'll ever be, was a good enough answer. Pain was waiting for us as we made it to the main room. Now all we needed was for Zetsu and Kisame. I twirled my fingers together waiting for their arrival. I was so bored I began picking at my nails. Anything to fill the time. A large, green, Venus flytrap-looking thing emerged from the floor. My heart rate increased in shock when Zetsu finally arrived. His entrances always do startle me. Kisame entered not long after Zetsu. Pain gave a brief review of our mission and we headed off. The wind was blowing past my ears as we leapt from tree to tree. The auction was a considerable distance away. We were silent as we made our way through the forest. The sun would be setting soon. The sky behind us was beginning to turn a soft shade of purple. Almost like Hinata's hair. I laughed to myself while receiving strange glances from the others. I waved them off, telling them it was nothing. Our speed began to slow to a walking pace as we descended from the trees. We touched the ground and began to walk to a nearby path. We're getting close to the auction. I tried to set my mind into mission mode. I have to focus. It's time to split up. You know the signal in case anything strange happens. Itachi and I began to walk off. Kisame and Zetsu got into their scouting positions. You ready? Itachi turned to look at me. I nodded and adjusted my tux. We made it inside using the body flicker technique. It's really handy that I learned to do that. This way I don't have to use Kurama's chakra and it isn't noticeable. Itachi and I separated, making sure no one knew we came here together. I looked around for anyone that worked here. There were some waiters handing out drinks, but I doubt they would know anything. The room was very large with a cavernous ceiling. The roof was a dome shape decorated with murals. The walls were a dark beige color lined with dark oak pillars. Black and white tiles lined the floor, causing the sound of voices and walking echo throughout the room. Around the outer areas of the room there were tall tables to stand by and set drinks on. Many were filled with chatter of conversations. I began walking to an empty table and grabbed a drink from one of the waiters. Finally making it to the table, I set down my drink. I wasn't going to have it, but it did make me look less suspicious. I scanned the room, looking for possible signs of anyone working with Tana or any shinobi. I spotted a long-haired raven chatting with some people from another table across the room. From their posture, hand gestures, and clothing, they appeared to be nobles. I was startled by the sudden clang of a glass being set down. I looked beside me to see a man about my height. He was wearing a dark blue mask and a black tux. He had dark eyes and raven hair sticking out from behind the mask. Mind if I stay here? His voice was deep and his smile could make girls swoon in an instant. The gears in my brain began to fit together and move. My face paled and my heart dropped. No, it can't be. Not at all. I smiled and took a sip of my drink. It was bitter and had a strange aftertaste. He looked me up and down. I could almost hear the wheels spinning in his head too. He looked shocked but smiled, setting his gaze on the room. You look different, Naruto, the raven spoke. I looked at him, myself, then back at the room. I didn't think I had changed that much. I don't really think so. I set my arms down on the table and leaned over. He copied the action as we both continued to scan the room. What are you doing here? His voice became lower and deeper. I sighed while thinking of an excuse. You should know that I hate these. I heard about this one and came to investigate. I took another sip of my drink. I felt like people were staring at me. Just my anxiety taking over. Big crowds weren't my favorite. I should have known, he laughed. You should leave this one to the leaf and sand. He turned to me. How have you been holding up? Are you okay? Are you safe? He bombarded me with questions. I giggled. Whoa, no, to many questions. Yes, I'm fine. I'm safe. Thank you for worrying. How is everyone back at the Leaf doing? Do they remember me? I chuckled. He looked a little disappointed when I asked him those questions. Of course they remember you. Don't sell yourself short, I smiled. It's good to know some people do still think about me. We've been wondering where you've been staying. Maybe we could come visit you. He looked almost desperate as he said this. Where do you live? He asked. It took me by surprise. What should I say? Should I tell him? Tell him what? OEHY, I'm with the Akatsuki and live with them and your brother. Well Akshua. I was cut off by another person making their way to the table. He had red hair and a desert sand-colored mask on. He stood slightly taller than me. May I join? His voice was scratchy. You don't have to keep up the act, Gaara. I knew he seemed familiar. It's nice to see you, Gaara. I stuck out my hand and he took it with a light yet firm shake. I'm so good at acting, aren't I? His eyes widened and his mouth parted slightly. Naruto, he was taken aback. I nodded. I trust you've heard about my situation, I asked solemnly. He looked angered and looked at me with pity. Yes, news gets around fast. Sasuke also told me more about it. He gestured toward the raven next to me. I took a deep breath and let it out. I opened my mouth to talk but was cut off. The auction will be beginning shortly. Everyone ready? The man on stage announced, a little too excited. The room erupted with claps and some shouts. I felt my stomach drop. How can people be so disgusting? Selling of people like their items. I looked across the room and was met by a pair of onyx eyes. He looked beside me. It's okay, I mouthed toward him. He nodded and looked back at the stage. The curtain opened and a person was walked out on stage. She had short green hair. Her tiny frame was covered only by small spandex-like shorts. Over her black lace bra was a mildly see-through white shirt. It came down about an inch lower than the shorts. She was dragged on stage by a leash and a black collar around her neck. Like an animal. They're treating her like an animal. The announcer began talking about her different attribute as the bidding began. All of it sounded muffled as I drowned out the noise. I began to regret going on this mission. I felt a hand grab my arm. I looked up to see a worried Sasuke. He was talking but I couldn't hear it. I was tugged away from the table and taken out of the room. "Are you okay?" Sasuke sat his hand on my back. "Yeah," I stood up straight. "You should get back inside. You have a mission to complete, right?" I smiled at him. "You always were too kind. I'll leave one of my men to watch you," he offered. "Wait, he's the captain of the mission?" "Sure." I sat down on a bench in the hallway as Sasuke left. Not long after, another leaf shinobi exited the room with a glass. "Here," he handed me the glass. I thanked him and took a sip of the drink. "This isn't right. That drink did not taste right." What drink is this?" He looked at me. There was a hidden glint in his eyes. "It's some type of flavored drink, I think," he thought about it. "Why do you ask?" I shrugged. "It just tasted strange." The shinobi smiled. I was startled by a sudden voice. "Kid, something's not right. What are you talking about, Kurama? Don't trust him." I looked back at the shinobi who smiled in return. "I'll have to take Kurama's word." Suddenly the hallway began to sway. The man in front of me became blurry. I heard him start talking to someone. A shadowy figure emerged from the hallway. I put my arms on the bench's sides to support me. "No, not again. I need to tell Itachi. Or even Sasuke and Gaara. I need help." In the spur of the moment I sent out a small wave of chakra. Only those keen to my chakra would notice. The last thing I remember was someone grabbing me and taking me away. "No, not again. I need to tell Itachi. Or even Sasuke and Gaara. I need help." In the spur of the moment I sent out a small wave of chakra. Only those keen to my chakra would notice. The last thing I remember was someone grabbing me and taking me away. Almost in unison, Itachi, Gaara, and Sasuke's heads perked up. The familiar feeling of Naruto's chakra shot through them. Sasuke left Gaara, after much convincing, to go check on Naruto. Itachi watched the two's every move. He had seen Naruto walk out of the room with Sasuke earlier. Now, he would never admit it, but there was a hint of jealousy when that happened. Sasuke had re-entered the room without Naruto, and another person exited the room. Not long after, Naruto had sent a small shot of chakra through the room. Could he be in trouble? Many questions raced through the three's heads. Especially the two ravens. When Sasuke had gone back out to check on Naruto, he was gone. Sasuke had thought through everything that could have happened. The auction continued without interruption. That leads us to now. Itachi's POV. The auction came to a conclusion and people began making their way out. Those who bought went backstage, and others exited out the front. I snuck out and met up with Kisame. He greeted me and explained that Zetsu had headed back already. I scoffed, it was predictable. Hey, I might have been imagining things, but I thought I felt a hint of Naruto's chakra. It was hard to find but I could sense it. Kisame gave me a questioning look. We kept looking to see if Naruto had come out yet. You were right. Naruto and I were at different tables and I took in a breath. Getting ready to explain what happened next, he ended up running into my brother. Kisame's head whipped in my direction and his mouth fell open. "Sasuke," his voice boomed in my ear. I nodded at him. He kept his gaze on me, awaiting the next part. Something must have happened to Naruto, because Sasuke took him out of the room. He looked quite worried too. Sasuke entered the room later but Naruto didn't. I was beginning to get even more nervous. Naruto still hadn't met up with us yet. Another person left the room and not a minute later Naruto sent out a wave of chakra. Kisame's eyes looked in the distance as he sorted through the details. Naruto is a string kid. Plus, he's got the 9 tails. While I doubt something bad happened to him, there is still the possibility. My heart was racing thinking of all the things that could have happened to him. He could be in serious trouble right now. I was snapped back into reality when Kisame placed his hand on my shoulder. He shook his head at me. "Don't get your panties in a twist, Itachi. He's fine." He dodged the familiar feeling of my fist flying towards him. "See, that's the Itachi I know." I retracted my hand. "You're right. He can take care of himself." Kisame nodded and removed his hand from my shoulder. "That's the spirit. The wind blew through my hair as we leapt to the ground. There is a chance he went back with Zetsu, Kisame suggested. I hadn't thought of the option. Let's head back, okay? We headed away from the site and back home. Everyone had cleared out of the auction before we left and there had still been no sight of Naruto. My mind was occupied by thoughts of Naruto as we arrived back. Everyone was awaiting our arrival in the meeting room. I looked around for any sign of Naruto, but he was nowhere to be found. Where's Naruto? It wasn't me who spoke my question, but Conan. I looked at Kisame. I was right. Something did happen. I was worried about him. All this talk about him being strong didn't help in the end. I know he can defend himself, but that doesn't mean he can't be taken advantage of. What do you mean? Conan walked over to us. She looked worried and upset. She looked like me. I couldn't from the right words. Luckily I didn't have to as Kisame began to explain the situation. I thought about all the possibilities. Everything he could be going through. What he could be facing. By what you're saying, it sounds like the Leaf Shinobi or Tana might have gotten a hold of him. Pain was making notes in his head. I agreed, though I doubt it was the Leaf Shinobi. With how nervous and erratic Sasuke looked, it couldn't be good. Not the Leaf. Sasuke looked too distraught for it to have been them, I stated. He really cares about Naruto, so I doubt it was his doing. Knowing him, he probably would have told Naruto before taking him anywhere. Also the fact that Naruto sent out a wave of cha. I jumped as I heard a quiet voice. It was in and out, almost like a call with bad reception. Can hear me? I looked around trying to find where the voice was coming from. I was getting weird looks from the others. Finally, the voice became clear. Itachi. Not much time. The auction. I was taken. The voice cut out for a minute. Naruto? It was his voice, resonating in my head. As he said one last word the others twitched, letting me know they could hear it too. Help, it was the last thing he said. I looked at the others who were also in shock. We looked at each other, an understanding happening without any words being spoken. He's at the auction. Someone took him. I was already coming up with a plan to get him back. The others seemed like they were doing the same. We discussed our plan of action. We couldn't just rush in and try to find them. It was too risky. At the same time, however, we couldn't wait for too long. Only a few days of the auction remained. We would find a moment to sneak in on the last day. That was when they sold their most expensive items. If they were to auction of Naruto, that would be the day. I couldn't sleep knowing he was in danger. Not having him here, resting beside me, affected me more than I thought possible. Never had I imagined his presence would affect me this much. Naruto's POV, earlier. My eyes fluttered open to reveal a dimly lit room. I sat up only to be tugged back by a collar around my neck. It was connected to a chain, linking me to a wall. My ankles seemed to be in a similar situation. I'm getting total deja vu right now. That's not a good thing, but still. I scanned my surroundings, taking note of everything I saw. It was extremely cold, not just the metal, but the room too, and my body. I looked down to see what I was wearing. My eyes widened as I saw my outfit. My pants and tux were gone. Instead, they were replaced by a small black pair of spandex-like shorts and a see-through white shirt. This was unbelievably exposing, even more so than the crop top Conan got for me. I tried to cover myself up with my arms, but it was no use. I stopped trying as I heard muffled voices approaching. I laid back down in the position I had waken up in. If I pretend to be asleep, I might be able to get more information. There was the sound of keys rattling before the door opened. Look at all them, just lying here in their cages like animals. Disgusting, but they make good money, a man spoke. So I'm not the only one in this room. Some of you here are gonna make us some high prices. Don't let that make you think you're special though. You're just like everyone else in this room, money. His steps got louder as they approached me. Except maybe this one. I mean, fitting so many categories. Unbelievable. I suppressed the shaking of my body. A woman's voice spoke as keys were tossed. I know how much you like to mess around with them, but don't get me in trouble. Pay up. She held out her no-free hand. The man handed her some cash and shook the keys. While they exchanged a few words, I thought of something, anything that could help me. Kurama, I need to borrow your chakra, now. Please, I need to talk to Itachi. I understand. Stay strong, kid, okay. I'm sorry I can't help any more than this. It's fine. A small connection was formed between Itachi and I's chakra and mental waves. Can you hear me? Itachi, I'm in danger. I felt our mids fully link and spoke quick. Itachi, Not much time. The auction. I was taken. The link was extended for only the slightest moment. Help, and just like that, it was gone. I know they'll come after me. At least, Itachi will. I hope. I focused back on my situation. The woman had left the room and the man was at my cage. The door squealed as it came open. Asleep are we? He walked over to the chain on my collar and pulled me. Wakey, wakey. I looked up at him. He was tall, with dark hair that was styled in an undercut. Oh good, you're up. He pulled the chain tighter and knocked me to my knees. It was getting hard to breathe. I could hear a child whimpering in another part of the room. Just like me when I was a kid. Afraid and alone, fearing for my life. I never want to see anyone that way. Using the slightest bit of Kurama's chakra, I enhanced my vision. There were about 3 children, 2 of which were crying as they witnessed my misfortune. 5 sets on teenagers were on opposite walls from each other. 2 adults were by the 3 children. All were separated by a cage. I won't let them lose hope. Don't worry about me. I spoke softly to the children, catching everyone's attention. While they couldn't see each other, my cage was slightly more lit up than theirs. I'll be fine, so don't cry. The man tossed me down on my side. What nonsense are you spurting out of that pretty little face of yours? He grabbed my chin, forcing me to face him. You are way too close, man. Personal space. I spoke between squished cheeks. He snarled at me. He was about to say something back but was cut off when I swung my head forward and knocked him down. I would kick him, but the chains on my ankles wouldn't allow it. He stood back up with a hand on his head. Stupid brat. It's a shame I can't hurt property too much. He grabbed my chains and sent a shock through them. A high enough voltage to do so slight damage, and boy did it hurt. I screamed and fell to the floor, twitching. He left me on the ground, locking my cell and the exit on his way out. It took me a while to collect my bearings, but I managed to sit up. See, I took a few fastened breaths. Nothing to worry about. I bent over, still feeling a bit of pain. My gaze landed on the children. They looked worried but had stopped crying. I smiled at them. Don't lose hope, you got that. We'll get out of here. I tried to get them to smile and it worked. Even the others began to smile. We will get out of here, one way or another. The door opened with a creak, letting light shine into the room. The first person was taken out of their cage and exited the room. The auction must be starting soon. The room would clear out from the front of the room to the back where I was. If they are saving best products for last. I squirmed with the though of me being a best product. I picked up the faint sound of clapping. The main room must be either far away, or the walls of this room are very fortified, letting no sound in. The claps weren't audible to the human ear unless you had very heightened senses like me. The claps died down and the outside became silent. Whimpers of children could be heard in the room. The negative energy in the room was so thick you could cut it with a kunai. Around 3 minutes later, the door opened again. Another cage was opened, another gone. My mind was soaring. Ideas were passing through a light speed. I had to think of something to do, and fast. Even though I tried to think of different ways to get everyone out, it seemed someone was one step ahead. The building shook lightly as a crash sounded in another room. It sounded as though it came from the main room where the auction was being held. I jumped up to my feet, slightly regretting it when pain shot through the bruises on me. Regardless, I smiled. Was it Itachi? Had the Akatsuki come to get me? I frowned and though about it. If it were the Akatsuki, they wouldn't have burst through like that. They would most likely sneak in. No, I doubted myself. Deidara would definitely blow anything up if the opportunity presented itself. Shouting and screaming could be heard. The screams were most likely from the auction participants. The shouts sounded more like commands. Now, I was sure it wasn't the Akatsuki. People stormed the building, searching every room until they arrived at the room containing people. Upon arrival, they shouted back at the others that they had found them, probably referring to the trapped people. The door burst open with a hard blow. The door made an excessive amount of noise as it fell to the ground. As I analyzed our saviors, I found one familiar thing in common. They were shinobi, from the Sand and Leaf. Each cage's door was broken down carefully and each individual was taken out safely by a shinobi. At last a group of shinobi came to my cage. It was a mixed group, 2 Sand shinobi, 2 Leaf shinobi. They broke down the door and came to inspect the chains. I kept my head down, hoping the Leaf shinobi wouldn't recognize me. One of the Leaf shinobi was ahead of himself, about to recklessly pull at the chain to get it to break. I braced for some pain but nothing came. My gaze shifted upward to see what had happened. The reckless leaf shinobi's arm was held tightly away from the chain by another person. They too far behind me so I couldn't see them in my peripheral vision. The shinobi's arm was thrown down to their side as the person spoke. Their voice was all too familiar to me. What do you think you're doing? If you don't know what the chain are or how to safely take them up, then don't try to so carelessly. And even more than that, do not hurt anyone here. He could have been harmed by the chain if you had done that. Think carefully next time. The man spoke to the shinobi that now looked embarrassed and ashamed. He apologized for his actions before the man dismissed the shinobi. He cautiously removed the chains from my neck and ankle, inspecting any wounds they left. His eyes narrowed when he saw the bruises forming from the beating I received. He was shocked but pushed it aside, instead focusing on my well-being. Needless to say, he was even more shocked when he looked up at my face. A wave of emotions washed through his eyes. Naruto, it's you. I laughed at his stuttering voice, ignoring the tinge of pain that came with it. Who else would it be? Who knew you could be this dumb Teme? I smiled at him. His lips stretched into a thin smile. Well, I guess you're doing fine if you can still joke like that. His arm wrapped around me as he helped me exit the room. Are you okay? Are your injuries hurting? I cut him off. Slow down. Too many questions. We arrived outside the building after much unwanted walking. The people that were captured were all outside. Some were sitting alone, some with others. Others were being questioned by shinobi. Sasuke let me down and leaned me against a tree. I'll go get something for your wounds. I nodded, not having the energy to fight back. It would be helpful for a short while, but since Kurama was beginning to heal me, any supplies wouldn't be of much use. Kurama had felt bad for not being able to heal me back in the cage, so he insisted he heal me right away. I tried to tell him multiple times it wasn't his fault, but the damn fox is just too stubborn. A perfect fit for my personality. It's not like I could blame him, I'm just as stubborn as him. As I was thinking to myself, I tuned in on a conversation. I kept my gaze away from them, but my ears stayed sharp as ever. Isn't that Naruto? You mean that one that got banished from the leaf? Yeah, I think it is. I can't believe we're unfortunate enough to run into him. It's repulsive having to see his disgusting face again. I heard he conspired against the village. Yeah, and he attacked the village elders. One of the leaf shinobi spat. Traitor. That one really struck a nerve. I had never once, not in my entire life, thought of betraying my village. Sure, sometimes I could get angry, but I had every right to. The people decivered my anger after what they did to me. However, the entire village had nothing to do with it. There were plenty of innocent people. I wouldn't compromise their lives for my pitiful one. So no, I wasn't a traitor. I wanted to stand my ground as they continued to talk about me. Then again, what could I do? Even though I was provoked, they would claim to be the victims. The harsher words were coming from the leaf shinobi. No surprise there, seeing as the sand shinobi had only heard about these things, never actually seen or encountered them. You know, I bet he used some kind of evil trick to get Sasuke to forgive him. Seriously. I mean, after everything he's done to Sasuke, how can he still tolerate that scumbag? Just let it go. Sasuke was stupid enough to give the brat a chance. If he gets hurt in the end, it's his fault. Sasuke doesn't deserve a shred of praise anyways. If the two of them died, then good riddance. That was it. I could tolerate them slandering my name, but Sasuke was a different story. I whipped my head around to ace them, my eyes filled with rage. Yet, my chance was taken. The man was sent a couple feet down by the strong force of a punch. Standing with his fist out was a certain spiky-haired raven. Behind him was another familiar face. A good red-haired friend of mine. The shinobi wobbled up from the ground holding a bleeding nose. A few other shinobi had looked over at the commotion. You didn't have to look closely to see the rage in Sasuke's eyes. Some shinobi were scared, some curious as to what had gotten him this worked up. Not long after, he shouted, "Next person that dares to wrongly insult Naruto gets the same gift your friend here just got." He looked around at everyone. Do you understand? Most of the leaf shinobi nodded. Gaara eyed the sand shinobi before speaking. That goes for you all too. The sand shinobi nodded. A few leaf shinobi shifted where they stood. No offense, sir, but why would you defend him? Some others nodded in agreement. Same question here, Captain. I mean, didn't he try to kill you? I heard he messed you up pretty bad, so why stand up for him? The crowd of ninja began to nod. Many eyes fell on Sasuke and I, shifting between us. Sasuke seemed enraged furthermore, most likely because of the fact that they were spreading nonsense with no proof. I stood up and made my way over to him as he prepared to yell again. I rested my hand on his shoulder and one across my stomach. He looked back at me. "Calm down, Sasuke. I'm fine. Their insults are just the same ones I've heard so many times before, so I'm used to it." I smiled at him, yet he seemed to frown upon my words. "I'm sorry you had to deal with insolent people like this." He glared at the crowd in front of him. I laughed. "You're not any less insolent yourself, Teme." I smacked his back and in return received a smack on the back of the head. I rubbed where he hit me. "Shut up, Dobi. Stupid," I shot back. "Usura Tonkachi," Sasuke grinned. I huffed and crossed my arms. "See, insolent," I returned a sly grin. Sasuke turned towards the extremely confused shinobi. He sighed. "Look at his stupid face. Do you really think he would conspire against the village? It's not as though he isn't strong, but do you really think he would try and kill me or anyone else in the village?" The ninja looked me up and down. Some seemed to question it themselves. A leaf shinobi spoke up timidly, but that day, when he was banished, he seemed so enraged, like he could kill everyone in the room in an instant. He seemed almost afraid to say it. Sasuke scoffed. "Who wouldn't be mad? If you were wrongly imprisoned, treated poorly, and banished from your home for crimes you didn't commit, would you still be smiling?" The group pondered his question. He was right. No one would be a ball of sunshine after such maltreatment. "I understand that, but what about that time he brought you back to the village?" Yeah, you were sent to the hospital under urgent care and he didn't even need treatment." I looked at them dumbfounded. Sasuke and I looked at each other with questioning glances. "Are you kidding me?" I exclaimed, causing everyone to look at me. "It's not that I didn't need treatment, I was refused treatment." I knew they wouldn't spare a single glance at me, so I headed to Granny Tsunade's. She healed me up at her office, and that's when the elders came. I released a small wave of the Nine Tails chakra and they accused me of trying to kill them. The Anbu took me away and, well, you know the rest. The Leaf Shinobi didn't seem as shocked as the Sand Shinobi were. They had long since gotten used to having a Jinchuriki living amongst them and even being their cage. Even though Gaara had gone through terrible things, the people learned to accept him. My past wasn't any worse than his, however the people did not accept me. Matter of fact, they detested me. "So you weren't trying to kill Sasuke, and even though you brought him back, they still refused to help you?" I nodded. "In all honesty, my crimes outweigh his. He's done nothing wrong." Sasuke looked ashamed as he said this. The shinobi took it into consideration. Sasuke received the treatment of royalty even though he had done things he shouldn't have. Naruto on the other hand had done little to nothing wrong and received horrible treatment. So everything we've heard were lies. Sasuke, Gaara, and I nodded. "What about you being a demon?" "Yeah, you have that demon fox inside you." The people nodded in agreement. I sighed. "I am not a demon and the Nine Tails isn't either. We're just misunderstood. Listen, I can't tell you everything right now, but know this, the Nine Tails isn't bad. Kurama never intended to do anything wrong. He's been encaged for decades. No freedom whatsoever. The other Bijus are the same. I know it's hard to trust me, but you have to. The chakra from him doesn't harm people unless it is used for harm. In fact, Kurama's helping heal my wounds right now." It took a while for everyone to process all the information they were just given. After some careful consideration they responded. "I'll trust you." "Me too. You've gained Sasuke and Gaara's trust, so why not? Not to mention he's close with 2Kage. "Yeah, I trust you." The crowd echoed with the same answers. They trusted me. A wave of relief crashed over me. I let out a breath I didn't even know I was holding in. "Thank you." I smiled at them, my voice wavering. Sasuke smiled at me. "People can change. One day, we'll get the whole village to feel the same way we do." I smiled back at him and nodded. "Thanks." Sasuke, Gaara, and I had migrated to a less crowded area to discuss a few issues. The cool night breeze blew through my thin clothes. I blushed as I remembered what I was wearing. It was quite awkward thinking about that fact that everybody saw me like this. Sasuke and Gaara finished their conversation and turned to me. "Care to explain how you ended up here?" Sasuke gestured towards the building. I nodded with a sigh. "After you left, a man came in, who I assumed was one of yours. He gave me a drink and I stupidly took it. Yes, I know, dumb move on my part. Gaara shook his head. You didn't know any better. I laughed and lowered my head. But I should. Anyways, I slowly began to fall into unconsciousness. Before I fully slipped, I saw someone walk towards us. I looked back up at them. That's when I sent out the small wave of chakra to alert you guys. And I assume you awoke to that room you were in, Sasuke inquired. I smiled sourly. They thought about it, contemplating what to do with this information. Hearing that one of your team members willingly gave someone to the auction was shocking news. Even more so with the fact that it was a close friend. We discussed more details about the auction and what happened, trying to milk as much information as we could. After everybody was finished with questioning, they prepared to set off. I was saying my goodbyes to everyone and planning to head back to the base when I was stopped by Sasuke. Are you going to be okay on your own? I nodded. Really? I nodded again. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. Are you really sure you're going to be? Yes, I'm fine. I sighed. I can take care of myself. I'm pretty strong. I smiled at him. He laughed. Not to be rude, but that kind of contradicts the situation you were just in. I frowned and smacked him over the head. I said I'm strong, not perfect. We laughed for a while before his face became serious once more. You have a place to stay, right? You're safe? Yes, Sasuke. Trust me this once, okay? He frowned. I want to trust you. No, I do trust you. I just want to make sure you'll be okay. I care about your safety, so does everyone else back at the village. I shook my head. He's a persistent one, and I thank you for that, but I promise you I'm safe. At this point Gaara had walked over. We always have room in the village in case you need a place to stay. My mouth gaped open. You too, Gaara. Geez, I'm fine. I promise. They looked like they wanted to say something against it but stopped as a figure approached. They placed their hands near their weapons. I turned around to look at who it was. A man with tall stature and long brown hair walked up to us. He smiled at me. I'm glad you're safe, Naruto. Gaara and Sasuke looked between me and the man. I stood still in confusion. It wasn't until I caught the faintest smell of his scent that I recognized him. I chuckled. You look ridiculous. He frowned. It's time to go back. He approached Sasuke and Gaara. I stood to the right of him as he spoke. Thank you for all your help. His safety is thanks to you, I presume? His eyes drifted to Sasuke, lingering there for a moment. Sasuke answered hesitantly. Yes. Can I assume you are who Naruto has chosen to stay with? The man looked back at me. I turned to Sasuke and nodded. I walked towards Sasuke and Gaara. I clasped their hands in mine and spoke softly. I will tell you everything that has happened when the time is right, but I don't think now is a good time. Tell everyone back at the village I'm safe and that I miss them. Actually no, don't say that. It might make them sad. Just tell them I'm okay and I hope they are too. I don't want to make them sad, ya know? The two serious expressions fell and they laughed. I let go of their hands and paced backwards to where I was previously standing. We finished our goodbyes and began to separate. They watched until we disappeared into the trees. A small puff of smoke erupted and quickly dispersed. I looked over at him and laughed. Please don't ever dye your hair brown. You look better with black hair. He chuckled and grabbed a scroll. Duly noted. Another small puff of smoke burst as he summoned his cloak out of it. Oh, so that's where you keep it. He smiled and wrapped the cloak around me. The cloak was long to adjust to his tall figure, but on my smaller body it was down to my ankles. I looked up at the night sky as we walked together. The crescent moon shone dimly, softly lighting up the area around us. Shadows cascaded down from the trees, creating morphed patches darker than the surrounding along the way. Stars glistened above us, like freckles on a face. A cool breeze blew mine and Itachi's hair as it flew by. The sounds of crickets and frogs was almost inaudible in the distance. I looked to Itachi to find him staring back at me. This time though, there was no blushing, my heart didn't beat as fast or feel as heavy. My cheeks tugged my lips into a smile. I shuffled closer to him, now walking shoulder to shoulder. Thank you. He turned facing me before focusing forward again. You're welcome. We walked in silence the rest of the way back. The feeling of peace came over me. After everything that happened, this was relaxing. Being beside Itachi in the cool night air brought a sense of calmness to me. After much walking we made it back home. As we walked into the living room area, I was greeted by a series of shouts. Naruto, you're back. Are you hurt? What happened? Everyone surrounded me with question-filled mouths. Suddenly I was pulled away from them. I looked at the culprit. Go change. Having no reason nor will to fight back, I nodded. I'm actually glad Itachi did that. Having to explain everything after just getting back, plus the clothes I'm in right now, wouldn't be an ideal situation. I slipped on a black and red, long-sleeved, turtleneck sweater and some comfy, gray, jeans. After buttoning up the jeans, I made my way out of the room and towards the living room. As I made it into the room, I saw everyone together, either on the couch, in chairs, or standing. They collectively stood up as entered the room. Conan ran over and hugged me. I'm sorry we couldn't get you back sooner. I was so worried about you. I wrapped my arms around her in return. Our arms coiled back after a minute of hugging. I smiled at her as a sign of assurance. Everybody made their way back to where they were previously sitting. I made my way to Itachi and sat next to him. Compared to how many questions they were asking earlier, they were strangely quiet. When they finally did start talking, they respectfully took turns asking questions. I explained the events that had occurred that night, leaving out some of the details from when I was hurt in that room. Conan seemed the most attentive of all of them, probably because of how close we are. Though, I know everyone was worried about me too. It made me kind of happy thinking about that. We made our way to the kitchen as my stomach growled. My face reddened in embarrassment. As we ate, they explained the plan they had made to rescue me. It was sad, but also funny, seeing how everything they planned went to waste because I was rescued by Sasuke. After dinner, Itachi and I made our way to our room. I made my way to the shower while Itachi made his way to a book. After finishing my quick, but thorough, shower, I got changed and let Itachi shower. I sat up in bed lazily going through scrolls, while Itachi finished his shower. When Itachi made his way out of the bathroom and towards the bed, I set down the scrolls. The bed sank as he sat down and looked at me. His eyes narrowed as he looked at me. I fidgeted under his gaze. His arms rose as his hand gently touched my neck. His fingers traced a line around my neck. How did you get the marks? I tilted my head and gave a confused look. He sighed and pulled me out of bed. He stood behind me, pushing me to the bathroom. We stopped in front of the mirror. I looked at where Itachi had touched my neck and found a strange scarring pattern. My hand reached up and felt the mark. The strange pattern ran around my entire neck, around where the collar had been. Itachi, who was standing behind me, grabbed my wrists and held them. It's here too. Wrapped around my wrists was the same pattern from my neck. He let go of my arms and they fell to my side. I looked at Itachi in the mirror. He stared back, waiting for an answer, though I couldn't give him one. The collar wouldn't make a mark like this, and I know no one drew that on my neck, so what is it? I scanned through my memories of the night, trying to come up with an answer. Aha, I remember. I turned around to face Itachi, almost running straight into him. He looked down at me, awaiting a response. What was I supposed to do? Tell him plainly, oh, I just got a little bit electrocuted. I stepped backwards towards the counter as he stepped forward. I looked to the side, avoiding his gaze. One of the men that worked with the auction came into the room we were all in and he came to my cage. He forced me around a little before I knocked him down. My back hit the counter. Wow, I literally backed myself into a corner. He didn't take kindly to that, so he shocked me through the chains I was bound by. My eyes drifted back to Itachi's. His hand grazed my neck again. I lifted my hand and rested it on his. I gave his hand a light squeeze and separated it from my neck. Still hand in hand I spoke, it's fine. Just a scar. Kurama can heal it. His grip on my hand tightened. As long as you're okay, then I trust you. Out of the spur of the moment, I wrapped my arms around his back and hugged him. It's good to be back. He slid his long, slender arms around me. I'm glad you're back and safe. I was worried, more than I cared to admit. I chuckled, thank you for worrying about me. I closed my eyes and let out a soft yawn. Itachi laughed lightly and separated from our embrace. We walked back to bed and settled in comfortably. My body instinctively moved closer to him as I leaned against him. Good night, Itachi. He wrapped his arm around my waist. Good night, Naruto. So, Captain, you and Naruto are close friends? I turned around to face my team members. Nodding my head as I spoke, we quarreled often when we were younger. I laughed remembering our silly antics and stupid arguments. Despite being quite different from each other, we still made good teammates. When I left the village, he tried to stop me and bring me back. Releasing a sigh, I continued. I honestly might have been more immature than him, which is hard to do. He was trying to help me, but I was so blinded by rage that I almost killed him. Turning my head back around, I faced the road. Trees surrounded the dirt path as we neared the Leaf Village. If it weren't for his unique power, he'd probably have died. A few murmurs sounded behind me, questioning this special power, and Naruto possibly dying. I can't believe people believe he would conspire against the village. Seriously, he is such an airhead sometimes. I've even begun to believe he doesn't have a brain. The shinobi laughed at my comment. As people's minds wandered, it became quiet. The sound of dirt and gravel under the shoes of the group was barely audible. The leaves of the encompassing trees rustled in the wind. An oppressing aura set in as I stopped in my tracks and spoke. Do not tell anyone we encountered Naruto. The air around us stilled as the group paused in their tracks. Silence filled the crisp air as people felt the weight of the words. Yes, sir. The echoes of the two words were quiet, almost as if they were telling a secret or some gossip. The solemn expression on my face was quickly wiped off my face as we continued back to the village. Nearing the gates, I nodded at the guards stationed at the front. They returned the gesture as we walked into the village. The team split off to write their reports as I made my way to the Hokage Tower. Along the way I was greeted by fellow shinobi and villagers. They shared friendly smiles and salutations. Sometimes, I doubted their smiles. After how poorly I treated Naruto and others, I didn't understand why people were so kind to me. If it had been anyone else, that wasn't Naruto, I'd be in a bit more trouble. Supposedly, because I'm the last Uchiha, I get to be a total disgrace. I learned my lesson, sure, but that doesn't change it. The red I see constantly. Red like my clan's cursed eyes. Like the blood of my people. Like the blood I made Naruto spill. The red of his power. The red that reminds me of my mistakes. The red of the door I entered. Like the hat weighing down on Lady Hokage's head. Her hat tilted up with her face. She greeted me, asking for my report. I gave a brief summary of the mission. We conversed about the organization, the victims, motives, classic debriefing stuff. Going through the run-of-the-mill things, I must have zoned out while talking. She snapped her fingers at me. My eyes focused in, as I listened to her speak. Anything else important to report? There was a gleam in her eye. A dull sliver of hope. I smiled in response. Yes, I might be getting a haircut next week. What do you think I should do? My smile shifted to a grin. Now, to anyone else listening to this conversation, it seems a bit out of place, but normal. To those who know of what this sentence really means, it's far from normal. That depends. Where are you thinking of going? The question was quick, anticipating the reply. Near where the mission was. I heard the place is relatively safe, and the owner's happy. Tsunade smiled. Good, if you do go. Bring this letter. The many items in her drawer wobbled as she opened it. She handed me a small scroll, closing the drawer. I happen to know the owner. You are dismissed. The smell of bacon wafted through the air, catching my attention. I stretched my arms, yawning while sitting up. The sheets were crinkled at my feet in smooth Waritachi and I lay. My back chilled as the warmth from him left my back. My eyes fluttered open to the room, a dim golden from lights on in the hallway. My stomach grumbled, though I wasn't very hungry. Beside me there was a stir, then a light groan as Itachi sat up. Snaking his arms around my waist and resting his head on my shoulder, he greeted me. His voice was deep and scratchy from just awaking. I smiled at him, softly inhaling the smell of bacon mixed with the room. I leaned my head against his and closed my eyes, shutting out the world. Darkness, quietness, it was peaceful. Good morning. I giggled, stretching out forwards towards my feet this time. His arms stayed around my waist as his face lifted off my shoulder. What do you say we get up and go steal some of that delicious smelling bacon? I know you want to. He unraveled his arms and shuffled out of bed. So sure. I threw myself back onto my back and rolled in the blankets. I shuffled to Itachi's spot, stealing the remaining warmth. You know, I said, looking up at him. I'm feeling like not getting up. Do you, perhaps, maybe, just maybe, want to go get food for me and bring it back? I smiled at him, trying not to chuckle. A sigh escaped his lips as he turned around. Just this once. He walked to the door, opening it and looking back. I'm gonna tell whoever's cooking you didn't feel like greeting them and thanking them for the food though. I sprang up, still wrapped in blanket. No, no, no. I'll come. I began to unwrap myself before Itachi stopped me, taking the blanket and covering me up. I was only kidding. Sorry, he apologized. He walked back to the door and left. The hallway disappeared as the door was closed. I soaked in the warmth and comfort of the blanket. My thoughts started to wander as I waited for him to return. The way he hugged me and comforted me. The way we joked around and smiled. The warmth I felt when he was around me. The way my heart feels heavy when he goes away on dangerous missions. The way it caught my attention every time his name was mentioned in a conversation, or how my heart speeds up a bit when he says my name in a loving tone. How much he cares for me. How is someone like me supposed to not have a crush? No, it wasn't a crush. I might be so bold to consider myself in love. The word feels foreign in my mind. Not the word itself, but the meaning and depth behind it. Sure, I love ramen. I love my friends. I love Kurama. But this is different. So much different. When I think about the future, my future, I can't imagine him not being in it. As still living together. Maybe here, or on our own. Possibly even in Konoha. He's just there, with me. I'm with him. Yet for some reason, this upsets me. I don't want to be in love with him. It hurts me. I know we're just friends. I know he doesn't the things he does out of romantic love. He doesn't think about that way. And that hurts. It hurts more because I know it's my fault. I fell in love. I got the wrong hints. I got too attached. He was a good friend. He cares for me like a friend does. That's all I am to him. A friend. But to me, I want him to be more. I can't just say that, however, no. It will ruin everything we've made together. It will break our bond. Shatter our friendship. Ruin the relationship that makes me the happiest, sad person alive. Why would he love me? I'm sure his heart doesn't speed up when I say his name. He doesn't find any special qualities in me. He doesn't become more intrigued when my name is brought up in a conversation. The door opened, revealing just the person I was thinking about. I smiled at him and sat up. The smell of the food wafted in as he set it on the nightstand. I took a few breaths, stabilizing my breathing. My shaky breath slowly evened out just as Itachi climbed back in bed. I decided to join you in your breakfast in bed adventure, he said, grabbing the plates. I laughed and took my plate. I took a few bites of other food before scarfing down the bacon. As I sat waiting for the food to set, I watched Itachi finish his food. His eyes glanced in my direction, before I quickly averted my gaze. I frowned and laid down. I faced the wall, trying to distract myself. The gray of the room was everywhere in my vision, setting a dismal aura around me. I could feel the bed shift as Itachi put his plate down. The thoughts from earlier were plaguing my mind, causing my mood to drop further. My shoulder jolted when a soft touch fell on my shoulder. I turned to face Itachi, wondering why he needed me. Are you still tired? He asked, concerned. I nodded my head and turned back to the wall. Naruto, he gave my shoulder a light squeeze. Is that really it? My breath started shaking softly. No matter how hard I tried to steady it, I couldn't. I felt tears surface in the corner of my eyes. Not in front. Don't be so weak. I pulled the covers up to my face, refusing to answer. I felt as if I would break down the moment my mouth opened. Like all my emotions would flood out of my mouth. The covers were slowly pulled back from my face. As the cold air hit my face, I could feel my cheeks cooling. Not from the lack of coverage, but tears. Itachi's hand cupped my face, but I couldn't make out his expression. The world around me was blurry, not only from tears, but the weight on my heart. The pent-up emotions, the things I couldn't say. The tears kept coming as I began to puff out air. I'm sure my eyes were red and puffy, the same as my cheeks. I probably looked like a mess. I lifted my hands up, attempting to cover my face. It didn't work for long as Itachi pulled them away. Do you want to talk about it? He questioned, but I couldn't think of an answer. I wanted to talk to him. I wanted to tell him so bad, but, at the same time, I didn't want him to know. His lips curved down, a frown casting over his face. Before I could do anything, I was in his arms. He lifted my back up, holding me there with his arms. A hand brushed through my hair as my head rested on his shoulder. His shirt was soaked by my relentlessly falling tears. I tried my best to stop, or at least calm down enough to say something. My breath was stuttering as I tried to calm myself. As the tears slowed, I pushed my head away from his shoulder. I looked at him to try to talk, but seeing his face honestly made my heart sink. My eyes followed his hand as he wiped the still falling tears from my face. I opened my mouth to speak, but my words fell short of my mouth. I sat, staring at him, contemplating what to say. I'm sorry. I wiped more tears from my face. His arms rest around my waist, as if he was afraid to let go. I'm fine. I was quickly cut off. No, you're not. His face was stern, yet concerned. It surprised me. It wasn't like him to speak against me. Though it was strange, he was always so kind to me. I was a bit taken aback. You're not fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you just need to let it out. Nobody goes through life without struggling. Not even you and all your imperfect perfectness. His words made a light smile creep its way onto my tear-stained face. See, there's that beautiful smile. I blushed at his words. Thank you. My voice cracked a bit and was scratchy from the crying. I laughed at myself. Even though I had stopped crying, I was still worried. What do I tell him? Well, I laughed awkwardly. I don't know what to say. He laughed, making my face flush in embarrassment. Well, you can start off by telling me why you were crying. My smile faltered. I shifted my legs, becoming uncomfortable. I felt as if you could hear my heart beating. I wrapped my arms around the back of his neck and hugged him. I don't know if I can tell you. He pushed his head away, but I tightened my arms. I held him in the hug, not wanting to look him in the eyes. He sighed, but complied. His hands rubbed circles in my back as we sat in silence. I want to, so bad. I want to tell you everything, but I'm afraid. His hands halted at my words. Why? He asked vaguely. His grip on me constricted. Why can't you tell me? Are you in danger? No. I shook my head. I'm not in danger. It's nothing but my own mind against me. I buried my face into his shoulder, covering my eyes. It's just me, my doubt, and I'm sure I'm right. I know he won't feel the same way. I know he'll think I'm weird. He'll stop caring about me. Whatever it is, you can tell me, he insisted, but I thought otherwise. I laughed, painfully. You're the only one I can't tell. I pulled away, mustering up the courage to look at him. I let go of his neck as he let go of me. I shivered as he removed his arms from my back. He rested his hands on my legs as I wrapped my arms around my stomach. He opened his mouth to speak, but I stopped him, shaking my head. I feel like if I tell you this, we'll never be the same. My mind raced as I fought with myself. My heart raced at the thought of telling him how I feel. I kept making scenarios in my head of what it would look like to tell him. But besides the excitement, there was a gaping hole of doubt. Whatever it is, it won't change how I feel about you, Naruto. The way he said, made it sound like he was trying to reassure me, but it made me worry. What if I told him I loved him, but he thought of me as a friend? I guess it would be good if he stays my friend. I'd rather him still be my friend than totally ignore me. The thought of him never looking at me the same made me want to burst into tears all over again. Itachi, I don't want you to treat me different after I tell you this. I want to stay friends with you, since I know what your answer will be. No, I'm sure. What I'm trying to say is, I love you, but I don't even know the first thing about love. I was sure my heart was beating so fast it flat-lined. I immediately regretted my decision. How stupid can you be, Naruto? Telling Itachi Uchiha you fell in love with him. Some dumb, insignificant, cast-out, teen, falling in love with Itachi Uchiha. Shit. I couldn't look him in the eyes. The thought of seeing his expression terrified me. Thinking about the disgust that must be on his face made me want to vomit. A man loving another man, it's not normal. I should have kept to myself and stayed quiet. I'm sorry, I apologized, quickly getting off the bed and approaching the door. Suddenly a kunai hit the door before my hand could reach it. I spun around, finally looking at him, only to be met with a different world behind me. Everything looked strange and seemed off. Itachi? I'm here. I turned and found him. A sigh of relief leaving me before remembering what had just happened between us. I'm sorry. I used my Sharingan on you. I knew you wouldn't let me answer before running away, so I decided to take us here. He motioned around us while slowly approaching me. I attempted to back up, but he had already seized my wrist. I looked away and tried to pull my hand away. His grip tightened, scrunching up the skin on my wrist. No matter how much I tugged, his grip never faltered. Please let go of me, I said barely above a whisper. Look at me. His voice was deep and quiet, but it sounded almost as if he was smiling. I hesitated shortly before feeling his hand on my cheek. He lifted my head towards him, prompting me to look at him subconsciously. When I finally saw his expression, my breath stuttered. His cheeks were lifted as a smile spread across his face. I couldn't help but blush slightly. He was beautiful. Thank you. He hugged me, squeezing me so tightly it was as if he was afraid I would slip away from him if he let go. Without realizing it, tears were forming in my eyes. He pulled away, hands resting on my waist. I held tightly to his arms. Naruto, honestly speaking, I don't know anything about love either. Despite that, I'm certain the way I feel about you is just right. I was surprised by his words. His gentle touch caught me off guard. What do you mean? He chuckled, you're so oblivious. He brought me closer to him. I could feel the heat radiating off his body. I love you, Naruto. His words sent tremors through my body. My legs began to feel weak as I slowly sank, almost to the ground if not for Itachi. His normally pale face held the slightest hint of red, and his ears were a dusty pink. Seeing this, my face flushed full of color in an instant. I let out a sigh I hadn't known I had been holding. A few tears even slipped down from my previously watery eyes. Are you serious? My voice cracked slightly. He lifted me back up and nodded. I'm serious. His grip on my waist tightened. I love you. Ah, I groaned. Stop saying it, I can't take it. I shoved my head into chest, avoiding any kind of eye contact from him or me. Never. I've been waiting to say it for too long to stop now. And now that I can, I'll do it all the time, because I love you. He replied slyly. I couldn't see his face, but I felt like he was smirking. Do you really want me to stop? I paused, then shook my head. No, I couldn't be happier to hear you say that. I wrapped my arms around him so tight, I thought I might kill him. He returned the hug, with much less force, and stroked my back. We stayed, hugging for what felt like forever and nothing at the same time. When we pulled apart, Itachi's face kept close to mine, staring into my eyes. He rested his forehead on mine, taking apart my very soul with his endlessly deep eyes. I cut him off, lifting my lips to his. My lips briefly pecked his, softly and quickly. I know, my face kept its red tint. My mouth curved up as I gave him a closed-eye smile. I pulled away slightly, making sure to stay in his arms. Can we go back? As I uttered the last word, our room came back into view. I was still by the door, looking at Itachi. I caught a glimpse of his Sharingan before he deactivated it. He swiftly hopped up, picking me up by my waist. I gasped in surprise before being thrown onto the bed. Hey, what was that for? I yelled as Itachi sat down on the bed beside me. I sat up, setting my sights on making off the bed, but that plan didn't last long. Itachi pulled me back, setting me in his lap. I looked down slightly to see his face. You're not going anywhere. His voice was deep, sending shivers down my spine. I want to know everything about you. What you love, what you hate, your hobbies, everything. As he listed each thing, his face got closer and closer. I put my hands on his chest, pushing him back to give me room to breathe. I was having trouble doing that thanks to our proximity and my non-existent ability to stay calm with him. I was blushing up a storm. What about oh yeah. We need to bring the plates back to the kitchen. Haha, oh no, darn. I struggled to get out of his grip, but to no avail. He's too strong. Stupid muscles and abs and strong arms, and the way he, Stop thinking about it. I kept squirming in his grip, trying to wriggle myself out. All of a sudden, I felt laughter rise in my chest as he poked and prodded my sides, tickling me. I laughed so hard my head hurt. I hadn't even noticed we had rolled over on the bed. Itachi was now assaulting me from above as my back lay on the bed. Okay. Stop, I said between laughs. He stopped poking and removed his hands. So what are we? Are we dating? Are we going out? What's the difference? Would you call it boyfriends? Boyfriend? Significant other? I muttered on and on, quickly being silenced by Itachi. I don't know. Actually, with the way you act and do things, would I consider you my wife? He said, a smirk creeping its way onto his face. I lightly smacked him on the arm. He put his hands up in defense. Fine. My secret wife? I groaned, growled almost. I sat up and flipped him over. Our positions were now vice versa. I sat on top of him, crossing my arms. I am not your wife. I'm a freaking guy, for heaven's sake. So? What do you mean so? I flung my arms up. You know what, boyfriend? I am your boyfriend, I nodded, more for reassuring myself than him. Good, so you're mine. He sat up. And that makes me your boyfriend. He paused for a while before speaking again. Can I kiss you? I thought about for a short while before answering. Not on the lips, I blushed. I think that one peck was all my heart can handle for today. Itachi nodded. For today, he said, approaching my face. My hands rested on his shoulders. Close your eyes. Don't worry, I won't kiss your lips. I obeyed, shutting my eyes. I felt him draw closer, jumping a bit in surprise when he kissed me. He kept his promise, not kissing my lips, but instead placing a light kiss where my jaw and neck connected. My grip on his shoulder tightened as he gave 2 more quick kisses. He pulled back, and my eyes fluttered open. I didn't kiss your lips, he smiled. Not a kind smile, but cocky, sly smile. Cammy, he's hot. My voice was stuck in my throat and came out quietly when I spoke. No, you didn't, I spoke slowly, intoxicated by every part of his being. My heart was beating at an unhuman rate, but I had never felt so calm and serene. I should have told you how I felt way sooner. Yeah, you should have, Itachi replied calmly, with his deep voice. But if waiting is what got us to this, then it was worth it. I finished for him, thinking the same thing. I love you so much. I ran my hands through his hair. He leaned into my hands, kissing my wrists. I love you too. We never broke apart from each other, only occasionally moving to get into comfier positions. We talked for hours, telling each other things about ourselves. We were so preoccupied that we skipped lunch, talking and talking for hours on end. Telling him how I felt was the best decision I've ever made. I couldn't be happier than I am with him right now. I feel like tons and tons of weight have been lifted off of me. I smiled at him as we lay down facing each other. He returned the smile, the fondness in his eyes sending butterflies to my stomach. I could be happy forever as long as he never left my side. I love him with all my heart and soul. And the best thing is, he feels the same way. Our conversations went on for hours, talking non-stop about anything and everything. Finally being able to truly talk to someone about life was a new experience for me, and possibly for Itachi too. A grumble sounded from my stomach, interrupting our conversation on Suna's politics. Hungry? Itachi laughed. I nodded and sat up. The blood rushed to my head, causing a small headache. The sheets rustled as Itachi got out of bed, offering his hand to help me out. I took it, slowly sliding of the soft, comfy bed. Despite leaving the bed, I was still warm. I looked down, noticing our hands still together, fingers intertwined. A blush spread across my face as I looked back up and continued walking. The thumping of my heart grew louder every second we approached the kitchen. I halted my steps, pulling Itachi back with me. His eyebrow raised as he questioned my actions. I don't know if I'm ready to tell anyone yet. About us, I said, holding up our interlocked fingers. He smiled, a genuine, understanding smile. That all right. I don't know if I'm quite ready either. He leaned towards my ears, his breath making my hairs stand on end. But I'd never hesitate to show that you're mine. He backed away, looking me in the eyes. I stood for a second, lips parted and eyes wide, trying to get my brain to function. I shook my head and resumed walking. The table came into view, a sigh of relief leaving my body. Turning my head, I spoke while walking. You're ridiculous, you know that? I grabbed a glass from the cabinet and filled it with water. Yes, I did know. Thank you. Itachi followed, grabbing his own drink as we sat down at the table. We were so enraptured in our conversation I hadn't paid much attention to the others sitting at the table. It's rhetorical. You're not supposed to answer. I scoffed, turning my head away. I would have flipped my hair if it was long enough. I know that too, he responded slyly. I glared at him and took a bite of my food, chewing angrily. Although, it's hard to be angry with such delicious food. My face lifted into a smile as I continued eating. This is really good, I said with a closed-eye smile and a mouth full of food. Oh, so you did notice we were here, Deidara joked, crossing his arms. I laughed at his antics, picking up another bite of food. Yes, sorry for not paying enough attention to you. My face scrunched up, mocking a pout. The atmosphere of the room was happy. And safe. I sighed. You know, I started in a sincere tone. They looked to me, waiting for the end. You guys are so much different than I expected, I finished with a chuckle. They seemed to ponder it for a moment. Hidan was the first to speak, seeing as he lacked a big enough brain to really ponder something. Oh yeah, and what did you expect us to be like? He finished in a snarky tone and shoving the nearest food into his mouth. I laughed at his antics. Well, for starters, I crossed my arms and thought about it, you're all S-rank rogue ninjas. My eyes skimmed through them. You also act a lot different than people would think. I thought Sasori was some big, weird, puppet dude. I gestured at him, then Kisame. I thought you were super mean and weird, but you're actually nice. What about the weird part? Kisame said, attempting to sound offended. No, that's the same, I retorted. They laughed at the witty response. I thought Deidara was batshit insane, loud, and stupid, but, well, never mind, that's also the same. Okay, when did this turn into an insulting speech rather than a, oh I love these people that took me in, they're so nice to me and they're all amazing, speech? Deidara pitched his voice up in an attempt to mock me. I put my hands up in defense. I'm sorry, you're so amazing and kind. Thank you for taking me in when I was a damsel in distress in need of saving. I threw my head back, the back of my hand on my forehead, adding to my performance. I looked back at them, staying silent for a moment. That part's true though. Thank you so much for taking me in and giving me somewhere to be safe, and feel like I belong. I bowed, as far as I could in my seat, hoping they could feel the sincerity of my words. Conan set her hand on my shoulder, urging me to look up. She smiled, in fact they were all smiling, in their own way. A home? I smiled back, my hair bobbing as I nodded. A home. Finally guys, this is over. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments.